Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto has juubi and total drama. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Kuronodono12 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Sitting at his desk in front of his laptop in a white room with various posters on the walls was a black-haired man with brown eyes. He is wearing a black t-shirt with a red and purple heart with stitches going through a Kingdom Hearts heartless symbol, a pair of red shorts, and hanging from the corner of his mouth was toothpick. The man's hands were currently behind his head as he leaned back in his chair and stared at the ceiling with a look of boredom on his face. This was none other than Kuronodono12 or simply Kuro or even KD, and he was one of the more recent lesser gods tasked with keeping record of some of the various worlds that reside in the multiverse. Kuro sighs in a bored tone as he continues to stare at the ceiling. I know I should be hard at work recording the events of my worlds, but I just am so bored. It's not like I don't enjoy my job, and I really hate to disappoint all of my followers, but I just get so tired working on the same things all the time. Plus I haven't been able to even start on the multitude of new video games I recently bought during my most recent trip down to the mortal world, he says, sounding depressed. Kuro lets out another sigh as he stares at his laptop for a moment. You know what, screw it. I need a break and buy burritos. I am going to take one. He says and begins to get up only to be blasted onto his ass by a shockwave and bright light. Kuro climbs over his chair and looks to see the smiling face of a white-haired woman with golden eyes wearing a white kimono and gulps. How can be of service today, Hikari-sama? He asks timidly as the woman standing before he was the Almighty herself, Kami, otherwise known as God, and one of the three goddesses that rule over the multiverse, and his boss. Hikari looks down at Kuro and smiles. Kuro-san, I need you to look over a new world that recently popped up in the Narutoverse, she says in a gentle voice. Kuro isn't that surprised that another world popped up in that universe, as it seemed like there were at least 10 new ones a day for that specific part of the multiverse, not that he minded of course, since it was one of his favorites. Kuro stands up and smiles. Is there anything I should know in particular about this new world, Hikari-sama? He asks, appearing eager to get to work while inwardly crying at his workload increasing yet again. Hikari nods. Yes, this is a special variation of those reading of worlds that pop up from time to time. You will appear before a group of the world's residents and then proceed to show them the events that happen in some of the other worlds in the Narutoverse. However, you will only show them the worlds that are in your sector of the Narutoverse, unless I say otherwise, she says, listing off the details of his newest assignment. Kuro's eyes widen hearing this, as he had only heard of one other world of this specific type in all the multiverse, and that one resided in his fellow record keeper Juubi no Shinju sector. Kuro snaps out of his stupor and nods in understanding. Very well, Hikari-sama, I shall begin immediately, but what of the other worlds that I am supposed to begin recording when they appear? He asks. Hikari giggles hearing the question. Those specific worlds still need some final tweaks made to them before they can come into existence, so don't worry about them for a while. Now I must be off, however I look forward to your continued hard work, she says before vanishing in a bright flash of light. After she disappears, Kuro just slumps down into his chair and sighs. So much for getting that break. I need it. Oh well, I might as well get started, he says before standing up and snapping his fingers as the room becomes a white void with a pedestal in the center of it. Kuro gives the surroundings a once-over before nodding, satisfied with the layout, before pulling out a notepad and looking at the list of names of the people he needs to bring here. Okay, so from the looks of it, I need to bring in the standard group of people, however it looks like I can bring in a few others at a later date, he says. Kuro then walks over and stands by the pedestal. Well, here goes nothing, he says before snapping his fingers again, this time causing a group of people to appear before him. Kuro then looks at the group as they begin standing up and mentally checks off who has appeared. Okay, so from the looks of it, I got everyone who can appear at this time, but I better double check just to be sure. There is the Toad-san and Jiraiya, Godame Hokage, Tsunade Senju, Kakashi Haddock, Asuma Sarutobi, Shizune Kato and Tuntun of course, Kurenai Yuhi. Damn, she is as hot as ever. Crap, got to focus. Now where was I? Oh yeah, might guy shudder, Anko Mitarashi also looking hot as ever. Ino Yamanaka, Choji Akimichi, Shikamaru Nara, Kiba Inuzuka, Shino Aburam, Hinata Hyuga still looking as cute as ever, Rock Lee, Niji Hyuga, Tenten, Sakura Haruno, Konohamaru, Yuden, and Mogi, and last but not least that world's Naruto Uzumaki. Okay, looks like they are all here, he finishes mentally listing off the people before standing before him and nods his head. Meanwhile, said group of people are beginning to take in their surroundings and notice they are no longer in Konoha. Naruto scratches the back of his head, confused as to what is going on, since he was just training in one of Konoha's training grounds with Jiraiya Aka Pervy Sage. Where the heck are we? He says, voicing the question on everyone's mind before gulping as he feels someone glaring at him. He turns his head to see Sakura cracking her knuckles dangerously. Naruto baka, I swear if this is one of you pranks, she begins before the group hears someone clear their throat and turn to see a man standing next to a pedestal. Kuro, after getting the group's attention, smiles at the group. Hello, allow me to introduce myself. I am Kuronodon12, but you can call me Kuro or KD. I am a mid-level god tasked with keeping records of the various worlds that pop up in my sector of the multiverse. Now the reason all of you are here is that your world is one of the very special ones that allows you to view events that have either not happened yet or those that take place in a world in the Naruto verse, he says, introducing himself. The group is shocked by all of this when Tsunade asks, what do you mean by the Naruto verse? She asks, getting nods from the rest of the group. Kuro smiles. Well, simply put, it is a portion of the multiverse solely designated to the various worlds that revolve around the life of Naruto Uzumaki and his various incarnations, he says, casually, shocking the group. Everyone in the group looks at Naruto, who simply stands there with his mouth hanging open in shock. Jiraiya rubs his chin in thought, hearing this. What do you mean by Naruto's various incarnations? He asks, curious about what that could mean. Kuro chuckles hearing the question, as he expected someone would ask about that. Well, in each world, there is a version of Naruto that resides. However, all of these worlds are essentially branches of a giant tree, and at the base of the tree is the prime Naruto world, or canon world as you could call it. You know, if you want I could give you a small peek into that world if you would like. He asks, getting nods from the group. Kuro claps hearing this. Very well, now pay close attention as I can only show you a very brief glimpse of it, he says before pushing a button on the pedestal next to him, causing the room to change into the Hokage's office. Sitting behind the desk is an older version of Naruto who appears to be in his late 20s, wearing the Hokage robes, working on paperwork. The group is shocked to see this before Naruto lets out a yell. Yeah, I am the Hokage. He yells, happy that in this world he achieved his dream. The adults of the group are happy for the Naruto of that world achieving his dream. The kids of the group are stunned by what they are seeing, but each is happy that their friend achieved his dream. Kuro looks at the group. What you are seeing are the current events of the canon Naruto world taking place in real time. We are simply watching the events as a hologram or genjutsu if you will, however I assure you that everything you are seeing is in fact real in that world. Now, judging by what time that clock reads, you are in for a big treat, he says mysteriously as the group watches. Naruto Uzumaki, the Nanadame Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village and hero of the 4th Shinobi War. What? The group yells as they continue to watch, shocked by what they just heard. Kuro chuckles. Yeah, in the canon Naruto world, there was a 4th Shinobi War in which all of the shinobi villages united and formed the first ever shinobi alliance to fight an enemy that threatened the entire elemental nations. In the war, the canon Naruto played one of the biggest roles and in the end was the savior and hero of the elemental nations, he says, casually explain the situation. The group stares at canon Naruto in shock before looking to their Naruto, trying to figure out how that could have happened. Hinata, however, had a small smile on her face as she thought, I knew you were amazing, Naruto-kun, and now everyone else can't see it too, as a small blush comes to her cheeks, happy for her crush. Kuro clears his throat. I would pay attention if I was all of you, or you would miss something really important, he says, causing them to look back at the canon Naruto behind the desk. Was sitting behind his desk doing paperwork like all the previous Hokages had before him. However, unlike the previous Hokages, he had found the secret to beating the dreaded foe. In fact, he was shocked that none of the other Kages had thought of it, as it was so obvious. Please tell me the secret. Tsunade yells desperately as she hated doing all the paperwork that came with being Hokage. The group sweat drops seeing this as they continue to watch what was happening. As Naruto signs another paper, he hears a knock at the door. Come in, he says before the doors fly open, and 2 blur rush at him before jumping over the desk and colliding with him, knocking him out of his chair, and the 3 tumbles to floor. Daddy. Both blurs yell, revealing 2 young children. The first is a boy of around 6 years old with spiky blonde hair, blue eyes and 2 whisker-like birthmarks on his cheeks. The other is a girl of around 4 years old with navy blue hair cut in a Heim style with blue eyes and 2 whisker-like birthmarks on her cheeks. The group smiles seeing this as the females of the group coo at how cute the kids are. Kakashi then smiles behind his mask and puts a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Congrats Naruto, your children are very cute, he says. Naruto looks up at Kakashi and smiles. Thanks Kakashi-sensei. I wonder who their mother is though. He says as the group takes a closer look at the kids. The majority of the group's eyes widen when the features of both children match only one person they know, and said person starts to blush heavily. Naruto laughs as he hugs the 2 kids. Boruto Himawari, what a surprise, did you come to visit me at work? The 2 kids nod as Boruto says, yeah, mom decided to make something special for lunch and we wanted to bring you some, he says with a grin. Naruto raises an eyebrow hearing this. Oh, is that so, and where is your mother? He asks teasingly before a woman walks into the office. The woman has shoulder-length navy blue hair with 2 bangs framing her face, white pupilless eyes with a hint of lavender in them. She is wearing a lavender sweater that hugs her curvy frame and a pair of purple pants. In her hand she has a bowl of ramen with plastic wrap over it to keep it warm. Right here Naruto-kun, she says. Naruto smiles and gets up from the floor before walking over to the woman and giving her a kiss on the lips. Hey there Hinata-chan, he says after they break the kiss. The group is stunned and happy that canon Naruto is married to canon Hinata. Naruto looks over to Hinata, who is blushing so hard her face is redder than a tomato, and grins. Looks like we are married Hinata-chan, he says right as everything becomes too much for her and she faints. Naruto catches her as he begins to fall. Hinata. Hey, you okay? What's wrong? He asks, trying to wake the girl up and causing the group to sweat drop. Kurenai smiles slightly, seeing this. She will be okay, Naruto, just give her a minute, she says, causing Naruto to look at her and nod as he continues to hold Hinata. Kuro clears his throat. Unfortunately, that is all I can show you for the canon Naruto world, he says as the image of an adult Naruto and Hinata, along with their children, vanishes and the area returns to the white void. Sakura then thinks of something. Wait, is there anything else you can tell us about that world? She asks, wanting to know what happened to that world's version of her. Kuro thinks for a minute then nods. I have an idea of what you mean by that. Yes, you are married to Sasuke Uchiha, he says, saying Sasuke's name with venom. He was never a really big fan of Sasuke's in the canon world, and that is carried over to the majority of the worlds in the Naruto verse. However, there are some worlds that he can stand the version of Sasuke residing within them. Sakura squeals hearing this and turns to Ino with a superior smirk on her face. Ha. Take that, Ino pig, I am married to Sasuke-kun. She yells. Kuro clears his throat again. I wouldn't be so happy if I were you, Sakura. Yes, you are married to him, but he is hardly ever at home, choosing to spend his time wander around the elemental nations instead of being with his wife and daughter, he says, snapping her out of her joy. By this time Hinata is waking up from her fainting spell and thinks I am married to Naruto-kun in that world. Before she lets out a mental cheer at that world's version of herself. Kuro sees Hinata waking up and decides to get things started. Now, before we get started, I need to say a few things. First, some of the events you see could potentially be spoilers for your world, however this is not a guarantee, so don't try and go and change things in your world using this information. Second, there may be times that you see something that shocks, like for instance maybe Naruto destroys Konoha or everyone betrays him. Remember that these are alternate worlds and therefore have nothing to do with yours. I don't want any of you to start viewing another in a negative way based on something that you see. Finally, there may be times when an intimate moment begins to happen between two or more people. During this time, those who are not involved will be temporarily frozen, unable to see or hear anything that is happening. However, at the same time, some of the group that aren't involved will not be frozen, as you will see. Finally, enjoy yourselves. This is an incredible opportunity that you are getting, and one that has only happened once before in the entire multiverse, he says. Explain the guidelines. Kuro then snaps his fingers, causing a series of windows to appear, and in each window is a different version of Naruto. The group looks at the windows and the pictures they contain and can't believe their eyes. They see all sorts of versions of Naruto, from one that appears to be piloting a giant metal man and destroy other giant metal men using an assortment of weapons. Tenten drools seeing this and mutters, I want one. Causing both Niji and Lee to pale and mentally pray, please Kami-sama, don't give her one of those. There is a window that shows a version of Naruto piloting what appears to be a large paper airplane made of metal and fighting what appears to be giant insects. Another window shows Naruto transforming into a series of large reptiles and wielding two different swords when he transforms back. Next to that window is one where a version of Naruto wields two swords that resemble keys and summoning the same types of reptiles. Several windows show versions of Naruto wielding some kind of silver cylinder that emits a beam of light and leading troops in matching white armor into battle against what appear to be some kind of metal figures that resemble the puppets used by Suna. A similar window shows him leading a massive fleet, what appear to be ships, into battle against ships that look like they are made of some kind of rock. One window shows him fighting alongside people wearing strange costumes that remind the group of the superhero cartoons that they used to watch in the early mornings when they were younger. One window showed him on an island with a bunch of other teenagers they had never seen before doing what appears to be challenges. Off to the side they saw a window that appeared to be of Naruto inside of a dragon of all things and working with the dragon to fight other dragons. They see a window that appears to show Naruto along with a group of humans and what appear to be aliens fighting what looks like giant mechanical squids. Finally, they notice several windows that don't have a clear picture of what is going on as they are filled with static. Biba raises an eyebrow seeing this. What is wrong with these windows? He asks, referencing the windows that are full of static. Kuro looks at the windows for a moment before rubbing the back of his neck. Well, those are worlds that haven't appeared yet, but might while all of you are here, so for now they are filled with static. Now how about I choose the first world to show all of you, he says before rubbing his chin in thought. After a moment he grins, having made up his mind. Well, to start things off, I will show you a world that has recently popped up that I have named Return of the Maelstrom, he says, as all but one of the windows disappear. Kuro then presses a button on the pedestal, and the room changes once again as the group begins to watch. Sitting around a fire holding a stick and cooking a small lizard was an 18-year-old spiky blonde-haired young man with sky-blue eyes, a rather handsome face that many women would find attractive and 6 whisker-like birthmarks with 3 on each cheek. He was wearing a set of brown robes and pants with a set of white armor that covers his chest and the tops of his arms, with orange and blue stripes down it. On the shoulder guards of the armor there were 2 symbols, one on each side. On the left shoulder guard there was a circle with a pair of white wings in it, with what appears to be a beam of light rising up between them with a star near the bottom, the symbol for the GD order on his right shoulder. There was what appeared to be a red swirl that resembled a whirlpool Uzumaki clan symbol. The group stares at the young man, clearly able to tell it is that world's version of Naruto. A few of the girls of the group blush at how handsome he is, while Lanko Wolf whistles, "Damn Gaki, you are good looking," she says, licking her lips. Naruto shivers seeing this, remembering his first encounter with Anko. Kurenai lightly slaps the back of her friend's head. "Behave, Anko," she says sternly, but a very small dusting of pink can be seen on her own cheeks. Anko pouts at having been reprimanded. "Ah, come on, Nai-chan, you have to admit that version of the Gaki is hot." She whines before pouting as she receives a glare from Kurenai before the group turns back to watch what is happening. The young man rotates the stick holding the lizard, allowing it to cook on the other side when he hears footsteps approaching. He looks up to see a man wearing white armor and a white helmet. The armor covered the man's entire body and had 2 sets of blue and orange lines on it running down the chest and on his arms. His helmet had a black visor that resembled a T, a crest painted orange and blue, and an antenna on the right side of his helmet. Phase 3 ARC Trooper armor. Asuma rubs his chin, seeing this must be some kind of soldier, judging by the outfit he is wearing, he says, getting nods from the other as they continue to watch. The armored man snaps off a quick salute as he stands at attention. "General, our scanners indicate that a large force has dropped out of hyperspace above the planet. They have also begun sending down troop transports. All of them are Imperial," he says gravely at the end. Biba scratches his head in confusion. What does he mean by hyperspace? He asks, confused by what he is seeing. Kuro chuckles hearing this. In this specific universe, technology has advanced to the point that travel between planets is possible. Furthermore, there are countless planets and species of life that inhabit the planets, he says, explaining the basic mechanics of the world they are watching. The blonde-haired man lets a small smile come across his face as he removes the lizard from the fire striker. "How many times have I told you I am no longer a general? Furthermore, you know I am not one to show respect just cause of someone's rank," he says, chuckling at the end of his statement. The now-named striker begins to chuckle along with him. "Sorry, Naruto, force of habit, besides you will always be a general to not only myself, but also the rest of the 909th, he says with a smile on his face as he removes his helmet, revealing his dark tanned skin, golden brown eyes and close-shaved head. The group is speechless on hearing that the Naruto of that world is a general. Shikamaru rubs his temples. "Naruto is a general, troublesome," he says, causing the group to sweat drop. Naruto looks over to Shikamaru with his eye twitching. "What the hell does that mean, Shikamaru?" he yells. Shikamaru just sighs. "It's too troublesome to explain," he says lazily, causing the group to sweat drop at his lay attitude as they go back to watching. The now-named Naruto rips off one of the cooked lizard's legs and hands it to Striker, who takes it and bites off a chunk of the meat. "How big is the enemy force?" Naruto questions before taking a bite of another of the lizard's legs. Striker swallows before sighing. "We estimate that it is likely an entry legion along with a majority of another one. Considering that our forces only number around 2,500, it's a safe bet that we aren't going to make it out of this one alive," he finishes somberly. The group gasps hearing this. "My god," Shizune says as she covers her mouth her hand. Naruto stands up and dusts off his robes. "You know, Striker, you and the rest of the 909th don't have to go down with me," he says, offering his friend a way out. Striker just chuckles before shaking his head. "Naruto, I stood by you during the first battle of Geonosis when the war began, the rest of the 909th joined shortly after, and you lead us through countless battles. In all of the battles your tactic saved us countless times to the point that we rarely suffered more than 25 casualties a mission. Those who did die were not forgotten as just another soldier and were given full funerals and their names inscribed on a memorial wall that you handmade, I may add. You treated us as individuals instead of clones and instilled in us that those who abandon a mission are scum, but those who abandon or betray their comrades are lower than hut shit. It was this teaching that helped us all disobey Order 66 when it was issued and stand by you now. We are not going to just abandon you now, each and every one of us is willing to fight to the death right alongside you," he says with determination. Biba's mouth hangs open hearing this. "Holy crap, the Naruto of that world is some kind of genius," he yells. Shikamaru nods. "I have to say that it is likely that his IQ is even higher than my father's, judging from what we just heard," he says, shocking the adults who knew how smart Shikamaru's father is. Sakura raises an eyebrow. "What is a hut though?" she asks. Guro clears his throat, a HUD is one of the species that inhabit that universe. As to what they look like, it is easier to just show you, he says before a window appears showing what a HUD looks like. The majority of the group vomits into trash cans that seem to have magically appeared upon seeing what a HUD looks like. Ino pulls her head out of her trash can and yells, "Oh god, that thing is hideous. It is like some kind of disgusting space slug," she yells. Tsunade's eyebrow begins twitching hearing this. There is no way that thing is remotely related to a slug. She yells, a little offended since she has a summoning contract with the slug clan. Guro gulps hearing this. Actually, Tsunade and the huts are in fact a type of slug, he says, causing her face to pale. After recovering from their various states of sickness, the group continues to watch. Naruto stand there listening to everything Striker is saying and can't help but smile. His friend no, his brother and all but blood was right. He then thinks on Order 66 and what happened. Flashback 1 month ago. Naruto and the 909th were walking back to their campsites cheerfully after a successful mission to wipe out the separatists, droid forces attacking Ryalth. As they were walking, Striker's long-distance communicator beeps indicating someone was trying to contact him. Naruto notices this and raises an eyebrow as a 6-inch tall blue holographic robed figure appears. The holographic figure looks at Striker. "Captain Striker, the time has come, execute Order 66, he says in a raspy voice. Toji raises an eyebrow in confusion. "What is a droid?" he asks. Guro sighs hearing this. He really should have known he would have to explain a lot of what they would see. A droid could be compared to the puppets that are used in Sunagaker. However, there are countless variations of droids with different jobs, ranging from those that help around the house to those that are used in battle, he says, explaining what droids are. Jiraiya rubs his chin. "I have a bad feeling about what might happen next," he says, confusing the others. Kakashi raises an eyebrow. "What do you mean, Jiraiya-sama?" he asks. Jiraiya just shakes his head. "That robed figure that appeared and gave that order to Striker gives me a very bad vibe," he says, causing the others' eyes to widen as they continue to watch. Striker and the rest of the clones' eyes gloss over for a moment as the orders register before they remember all of their time spent with Naruto and what he taught them. Their eyes regain focus and Striker glares at the holographic robed figure. "With all due respect, sir, go suck a hut's nuts," he yells, shocking the figure before smashing the communicator. Naruto raises an eyebrow in confusion. "Wait, do he mean shadow clones?" he asks. Guro shakes his head. "No, he meant actual clones, as in they all have the same DNA," he says, shocking Tsunade and Shizune. Tsunade looks at Kuro. "You mean that their medical technology is so advanced that can actually clone people?" she nearly yells in shock. Guro nods yes, and that is just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. They have actual working and fully functional prosthetic limbs and organs for those who need them and can even save someone who has been severed in half at the waist as long as they receive medical attention soon enough, he explains, shocking them before they go back to watching the events before them. Naruto watches this happen in confusion before he is suddenly hit by a massive tremor in the force. He begins feeling the lives of hundreds, no thousands of GT across the galaxy being snuffed out one by one. The feeling knocks the breath out of him and he clutches his chest trying to breathe before falling to the ground unconscious as Striker and the rest of the clones rush to his side. Neji raises an eyebrow. "What is the force?" he asks. Guro sighs. "That will likely be explained later, so for now just keep watching," he says, answering Neji's question. Naruto wakes up to see Striker sitting not far from him tending a fire. Naruto rubs his head and groans, catching Striker's attention. Striker walks over and hands Naruto a cup of water. "You feeling better, General? You gave all of us a pretty good scare when you collapsed like that," he asks. Naruto finishes off the water and takes a deep breath. "Yeah, I am better now, Striker. I was just hit by a massive tremor through the force." "What was that message you received right before I passed out?" he asks, narrowing his eyes. Striker's eyes widen hearing this. "General, I can't say much since I don't even understand it myself, but when that figure said execute Order 66, it felt as though my brain shut off for a moment, like the engine was on, but no one was at the wheel. It was then that a single thought ran through my head, which was to kill you, but then all of time we spent fighting alongside each other and what you taught me ran through my head and I returned to normal." Apparently the same thing happened with the rest of the men since they said they experienced the same thing, he says, explaining what happened to the best of his ability. Kurenai rubs her chin hearing this. It sounds similar to a genjutsu that forces the person to do something after a certain phrase is spoken, she muses as the group continues watching. Naruto curses hearing this as it proves his hunch. "That is what I was afraid of, my friend," he says, somberly, confusing the clone. Striker scratches his head hearing this. "What do you mean, General?" he asks, not following Naruto's train of thought. Asuma grinds his teeth hearing this. "I am not liking where this is going," he says. Ino looks to her Jonin-sensei in confusion. "What do you mean, Asuma-sensei?" she asks. Asuma just shakes his head. "Just continue watching," he says as they do just that. Naruto interlaces his fingers as he brings his hands close to his face. What I mean is that I don't think this was an isolated incident. That massive tremor I felt through the force was the deaths of thousands of GD all across the galaxy, he says in a monotone voice, as if all emotion was stripped from him. Striker's eyes widen hearing this. You don't mean what I think you mean, right? He asks, hoping he was wrong. Naruto sighs. Yes, I think that the same individual that gave you that order also gave it to every single other clone commander stationed under a GD general across the galaxy, except they weren't able to fight off whatever happened to them and carried out their orders, he says sadly. The group gasps hearing this. My god, then that means that Ino begins only for Asuma to finish her sentence, that every death that Naruto felt was of a GD being killed by their own men, he says. Naruto clenches his fists hearing this, enraged by what a version of him just experienced. Unknown to him, his eyes briefly turn red with black slits. Jiraiya notices this and puts his hand on Naruto's shoulder to calm him down, which does. However, unknown to the others, Naruto's eyes also briefly flashed a sulfuric yellow, which only Kuro saw, causing him to raise his eyebrow in thought. The group then continues to watch, still in shock by what they just heard. Striker's legs nearly give out hearing this, as many of those clones were not only his brother by blood but also friends, and some of the GD were also his friends. As he tries to grasp the severity of the situation, one GD in particular pops into his mind, someone who is very precious to Naruto. Naruto, please tell me that she wasn't one of the GD whose death you felt, he asks, praying to all the higher powers that she wasn't for his friend's sake. The group raises an eyebrow hearing this, wondering who it could be that Striker is referring to and what a relationship with that version of Naruto could be. Naruto just lowers his head. Striker, hers was the most powerful of all of the deaths I felt and the one that knocked me unconscious, he says in a dead voice as tears come to his eyes upon remembering the death of the one person in the entire galaxy he cherished above all others, Ayla Sakura. Once again the group raises an eyebrow, wondering who this Ayla Sakura is, but they also gasp upon finding out that she apparently is among those that died. Ayla Sakura was a cerulean blue-skinned female Twi'lek and fellow GD Knight. The two of them had grown up together in the GD temple after one of Ayla's masters, Quinlan Vos, saved her from being sold into slavery and found her to be Force-sensitive. During their time as younglings learning the ways of the GD, the two became fast friends to the point they nearly inseparable. As the two of them grew older, their feelings for one another began to deepen from just friendship into something that the GD were forbidden from love. Unknown to the other at the time, they buried their feelings for each other and went on with their lives as Padawans under their respective masters. Ayla had become the Padawan learner of Master Quinlan Vos. Naruto had become the Padawan learner of Master Shakti, one of the masters who had taken a particular interest in his learning, the others being Kunlun Vos and Master Yoda himself. For the next few years Naruto and Ayla would see little of each other outside of occasional times they ran into each other at the GD temple. However, both of them would soon become GD Knights at the age of 15 after undertaking the trials. Denton raises an eyebrow hearing this. Kuro-san, what does it mean by Padawan, GD Knight and GD Master? She asks. Kuro smiles hearing this. In the GD order, those are the various ranks that the members hold. A Padawan is the equivalent to a Genin in rank, a GD Knight is the equivalent to a Chunin or Jonin, and a GD Master is the equivalent to Elite Jonin or even Kage. There are also two other ranks which consist of Youngling and Grand Master. A Youngling could be compared to an academy student, while a Grand Master is compared to the Hokage or any of the other Kages. There can only be one Grand Master at a time, and it is that individual's duty to not only instruct the younglings from time to time, but also provide guidance to the order as a whole, he explains, listing of the ranks in the GD order. Kuro then continues his explanation. When a youngling reaches a certain skill level, they are given the rank of Padawan and then continue their learning under a GD Knight or GD Master. Once the Padawan's teacher feels they are ready, they allow them to undertake the trials, which could be compared to the Chunin exams, except it is more spiritual in a sense. If the Padawan completes the trials, they are given the rank of GD Knight. As for how a GD Knight achieves the rank of GD Master, it is a combination of another set of trials and the GD High Council, determining if the Knight is ready or qualified to be a GD Master, he says, finishing his explanation and getting nods from the group as they continue to watch what is happening. However, only 6 months after the two became GD Knights, the Clone Wars broke out after they, along with 200 other GD, were sent to the planet Geonosis to rescue recently promoted GD Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, his young Padawan Anakin Skywalker, and Senator Padme Amidala from a Geonosian battle arena. Of the 200 GD that went, only around 20 made it out of the arena alive, and that was only thanks to Master Yoda arriving with the clone army. The group gasps hearing this due to the significant loss of life. The older shinobi who fought in the Third Shinobi War have minor flashbacks to when they fought in the Third Shinobi War or even the Second Shinobi War in the case of Tsunade and Jiraiya. However, even then the battle wasn't over, as the first battle of the Clone Wars had officially begun, with the remaining GT on Geonosis leading clone troopers against the battle droids of the Confederacy of Independent Systems. It was during that battle that Naruto and Stryker, as he would later be known, met for the first time. In the 3 years that followed, Naruto leads Stryker and the rest of the 909th Maelstrom Corps on countless missions and soon became on the most decorated groups in the Republic Army. It was also during this time that Naruto and Isla's mutual feelings for each other finally grew to be too much for them to bury. The two confessed their feelings for each other and became a couple, but were forced to keep it a secret due to the GT code forbidding attachments. However, they decided that after the war ended they would retire from the GT order and therefore not have to hide their relationship. The group was happy for Naruto and Isla, but confused by the GT forbidding attachments. "Kuro-san, why do the GT forbid attachments like love?" Sakura asks. Kuro sighs, "It is because, well, there are two sides to the Force, a light side which the GT use and the dark side which the Sith use. The GT stand for peace, order and harmony, while the Sith stand for destruction, chaos and hate. The GT believe that if a GT has attachments they will begin to fear losing them. This fear will turn to hate if they do in fact lose them, which then leads to anger. Anger leads to suffering, which in turns lead to death. Fear, hate, anger, suffering and death are all aspects of the dark side of the Force which the Sith use," he says, answering her question. Stryker walks over and places his hand on Naruto's shoulder, snapping him out of his thoughts. "I am sorry to hear that, Naruto. I know how much she meant to you," he says, surprising Naruto. Stryker laughs, seeing this. "Oh come on, don't look so surprised that I knew about the relationship between you and General Sakura. Hell, the entire 909th knew something was going on between the two of you, but kept it secret out of respect for the both of you," he says with a smile. The group chuckles, hearing that Naruto and Isla's relationship wasn't as secret as the two thought. Naruto sits there for a moment, still shocked that not only Stryker but also the entire 909th knew about his relationship with Isla. Naruto finally recovers from his shock by coughing into his hand. "Well, that aside, for now we need to get back to the Red Fox and begin searching for any surviving GT and then go from there," he says, trying to change the subject. The frown comes across Stryker's face hearing this. "I'm sorry, Naruto, but the Red Fox was destroyed," he says, shocking Naruto. Stryker sees this and decides to explain. "We aren't 100% sure, but from what we can tell there was a secret self-destruct code hidden in the ship's mainframe that was triggered from long distance, most likely by the same person that issued Order 66, he says sternly. Naruto curses hearing this. The Red Fox was their home base, so to speak, one of the earliest Venator-class ships to come out of the Republic shipyards at the start of the Clone Wars. It had seen Naruto and the 909th through every battle they were ever in and had been just as much a part of their forces as anyone. Not only that, it housed over 90% of their supplies, ranging from weapons, rations, and ammo to transports, tanks, speeders, fighters, and bombers. It also was where half of the 909th was currently on standby, since the separatist forces that had been attacking Rylith weren't that large. This meant that of the roughly 5,000 soldiers that made up the 909th, they were down to 2,500, which was something unheard of for the group. Kuro snaps his fingers, and a picture of the Red Fox appears, causing the group's jaws to hang open, as ship was huge. Naruto looks at the Red Fox with stars in his eyes. "That is so cool." He yells, getting nods from the rest of the genin, as they had to admit it did look pretty cool. Kuro chuckles before snapping his fingers, again causing the group to go back to watching the events unfold. Naruto slams his fist into the ground at the loss of nearly 2,500 brothers in arms, men he had fought alongside, joked with, became friends, no brothers in all but blood with. It also meant that they were trapped on Rylith and sitting ducks for the attack that was sure to come, since Stryker and the remaining 909th refused to carry out Order 66. The adult shinobi lower their heads for a moment at the loss of so many lives and remembering all the friends they have lost in their lives. Naruto sighs. "We will have a memorial service for those we lost and then go from there, since we are basically trapped here. We must also prepare for the imminent attack that is sure to take place due to you and the others refusing to carry out Order 66, thanks for that by the way," he says with a chuckle at the end. Stryker nods hearing this and gives a quick salute. "Understood, General. I will let the others know, and Naruto, don't mention it. After all, those who abandon the mission are scum, but those who abandon or betray their comrades are lower than Hutshit," he says with a smirk before heading off to tell the other clones the news. Naruto sits there for a moment before chuckling before his mood becomes somber as the last 24 hours finally sinks in. The group looks on in sadness at the almost broken look that adorns the face of the Naruto they are watching. Then flashback. Naruto is snapped out of his thoughts when he notices Stryker trying to get his attention. "Naruto-chan, Sinjula is calling again," he says, holding out a communication disc with a beeping light. Naruto sighs hearing this before taking the disc and answering the call as the 6-inch tall blue holographic form of a male Twi'lek appears. "Cham, what can I do for you?" He asks, already having an idea of what he is going to say. Kakashi rubs his chin in thought. So that is what a Twi'lek looks like, he states in observation. Goro chuckles. Yes, that is what the males look like, the females however are a different story, he says mysteriously. The holographic figure smiles. Naruto, my friend, our sensor indicated the incoming Imperial forces and we wish to aid you in the fight against them. The Twi'lek people wish to stand alongside those who have helped us protect our home, he says with enthusiasm and determination. Naruto sighs hearing this, as it isn't the first time Cham and his people offered to help them in the fight against the Imperials when they arrived. Cham, we have been over this before. I will not allow you to put the future of your entire people at stake for us. This isn't like in the Clone Wars, my friend. The Imperials are coming here with the sole purpose of killing not only myself but also the entire remaining 909th. Furthermore, this isn't a battle for us, it is a final stand since there is no way out for us. What you can do for me is protect your family and race, live on and remember us, he says with a smile. The older shinobi smiles seeing this, as it seems that this version of Naruto shares the trait to put the safety of other above his own, just like their Naruto does. Cham is silent for a moment as he thinks about what Naruto just said. Very well, my friend, I shall abide by your wishes. However, you and the 909th shall never be forgotten and will always be considered heroes to not only Rylith but also the Twi'lek people as a whole, he says with a smile. Naruto smiles hearing this. Thank you, my friend, and it was an honor knowing and fighting alongside you. Oh, and look after little Numa for me, he says happily, and remembering the little Twi'lek girl that had become sort of like a mascot to the 909th during their time on the planet. Cham smiles as he salutes with his right arm across his chest and his fist over his heart. It was an honor fighting alongside you too, my friend, and I shall look after little Numa as if she were my own daughter, he says before they bid each other a final farewell and the transmission ends. Naruto smiles at the holo disc before using the force to crush it beyond recognition so that the call can't be traced if it lands in enemy hands. He then turns to Striker, who already has his helmet back on and his twin DC-17 blaster pistols in his hands, and nods as the two of them walk to where the rest of the 909th is. As they reach the rest of the 909th, Naruto looks around and gives each and every clone a nod and receives one in return before they get up and take position with their blaster rifles at the ready and begin following behind the two. As they reach the end of the group, they stare out at the enemy of over 20,000. The group gasps seeing this. Holy crap, that is a lot of enemies. Kiba yells. The older shinobi however have different thoughts as they can begin to tell how this battle no final stand will end. Naruto whistles seeing this. Well, it seems like there are quite a few of them, boys. He asks, getting a cheer from the 909th. Naruto then pulls two silver cylinders off his belt and holds one in each hand before pressing a button on them, causing a blue blade to come to life from the one in his right hand and a red blade from the one in his left hand. Denton's eyes begin to sparkle and she begins to drool seeing the weapon as she mutters, I want one, and once again Neji and Lee mentally pray to whatever deity that will listen to never give her one. It was bad enough they had to dodge practically an entire armory when they sparred with her, not to mention when they made her angry. Striker notices this and raises an eyebrow, though it was hidden by his helmet. You are going to use Crimson Fury for this last stand, General? He asks, a little surprised since Naruto rarely used the red-bladed lightsaber. Naruto just chuckles hearing this. Striker, we are up against the entire 501st and what looks to be the majority of the 212th. That means that the black armor wearing fellow in front of them is bound to be Skywalker, and from the hate and anger I sense pouring from him, he has become a Sith. Besides, it's our final battle, so I might as well go all out and make it one that will never be forgotten, he says with a smile at the end, getting a chuckle from the clones nearest to them. Naruto then rolls his shoulders to loosen them up and begins slowly walking forward with the 909th keeping pace right behind him. As the group continues to watch, they suddenly hear music playing and are confused as to where it is coming from. Kuro sees their confusion and decides to explain it. Sometimes at certain point in time, music may begin playing to give the scene that you are watching more feeling and impact, he says. Explain the music. Play Soldiers We Are Soldiers by Otherwise. As they walk forward, they begin picking up speed and begin to sing as one before they break into a full-on run and their final battle begins. The 909th opens fire with their blaster rifles, sending blue lights of death at the enemy who fire their own weapons in response. As both sides continue to charge at each other, Striker pulls out a detonator and pushes the button on it, setting of the hidden explosives they hid beforehand. Explosions tear through the enemy clones, killing them by the dozens, yet the two sides continue to charge at each other. The group watches as the two sides engage in battle, stunned by what they are seeing. The blue lights going back and forth between the two sides were beautiful in a sense, until they realized that when someone was hit by one of the lights they died. Naruto uses his lightsabers to deflect blast shots back at their senders as he charges straight for the black armored figure wielding a red lightsaber. He reaches the armored figure and the two lock blades. I would say it is nice to see you again, Skywalker, but that would be a lie, he says as the two continue to clash. The group is shocked that the version of Naruto they are watching apparently knows the person he is currently fighting. The armored figure slashes at Naruto only for it to be blocked by Naruto's blue blade. "That name no longer has any meaning to me, I am now Darth Vader," he says through his helmet. Naruto raises an eyebrow hearing this and slashes at Vader's arm, only for Vader to block his strike. "I have to be honest, that is a pretty cool name minus the Darth part of course," he says before spinning and aiming a slash at Vader's abdomen, forcing him to jump back. Naruto then lunges forward with a thrust aimed at his right leg, only to pull a feint and aim at his stomach. Vader blocks the feint and slashes at Naruto's chest, forcing him to leap back, but Vader presses his attack, forcing Naruto go on the defensive. "You cannot win here Naruto, you shall fall, just as the rest of the GT order has," he says continuing his attack. As the group watches the two fight they can't help but be amazed by their skill in using their lightsabers. It was as if the two were opposing storms battering against each other in a dance of death. Naruto, barely managing to keep the lethal lightsaber of his once friend from slicing him to pieces, manages a small smile. "I know I am going to fall here Vader, but I will still fight on regardless." As for the GT order falling, yes, it has been dealt a tremendous blow, but that doesn't mean that it is defeated. So long as there are people out there who believe in what the GT stand for, they will never be truly defeated. Sooner or later you, the Empire, and your so-called master will be defeated, and the Republic shall once again rise from the ashes, and the GT will return to protect it, along with the galaxy, he says before launching his final counter-attack. The older shinobi smile hearing this version of Naruto's words as it reminds them of the will of fire that Konoha is famous for. The younger shinobi however begin to get the sense that the Naruto they are watching might not survive the fight judging from his words. Naruto swipes at Vader's chest only for his attack to be blocked. He then swings his red blade at Vader's left arm, sever the robotic limb at the elbow, causing Vader to let out a howl of pain. Vader swings his lightsaber in rage and severs Naruto's left arm at the shoulder, causing Naruto to let out a howl of pain as he jumps back. The group cheers seeing Naruto inflict such a blow on his enemy, only to gasp when his arm is severed by Vader's counterattack. Naruto looks at where his left arm used to be, then at the sparking stump of Vader's left arm, and chuckles. "It looks like we have disarmed each other," he says with a dry chuckle, only to receive silence as a response from Vader. The group deadpans and looks at Naruto, who is chuckling, raises an eyebrow. "What, I thought it was clever?" he asks. The rest of the group sweat drops hearing this. "I thought it was amusing as well," a voice says, startling them as they turn to see Shino adjusting his sunglasses. He had been so quiet that everyone had actually forgotten that he was there with them. Naruto sighs seeing this. "Yeah, I know, not one of my best lines, but oh well. How about we finish this with one final attack like we used to when you went by Anakin Skywalker?" he suggests. Vader thinks it over for a moment before nodding. "Very well, one final time we shall clash and finally determine which of us is stronger," he says as he readies his blade. Naruto smiles hearing this. "Oh yeah, that's right, we are tied at 49 wins each," he says, readying his own blade. The two stare at each other for a moment before they charge there and clash one final time, kicking up a dust cloud that blocks them from view. The group curses seeing this. "Damn it, what happened?" Ino yells at not being able to see due to the dust. When the dust clears, Naruto has a smile on his face and is seen with Vader's red blade sticking out of his back and his own lightsaber deactivated in his hand. The group gasps seeing this as tears begin to form in the eyes of a few of them. Well, this wasn't their Naruto, it was still hard to watch. Naruto on the other hand was having phantom pains to when Sasuke shoved a Chidori through his chest in their fight at the Valley of the End. Vader seeing this scowls behind his helmet. "Why did you deactivate your blade and allow yourself to be impaled?" he asks, enraged that Naruto would just throw the fight. The group is shocked to hear this, wondering why that version of Naruto would do such a thing. Naruto coughs and some blood trickles down the side of his mouth as he manages a weak smile, "Because even if you have betrayed the GT, killed your former comrades, and become a Sith, you are still my friend deep down inside. You are just lost in the dark, but one day I feel you will make your way back into the light. Besides, I miss Isla and want to be with her again," he says, a weak smile on his face. The group listens to that version of Naruto's reasons for his actions and is shocked. They then see a similarity between that version of Naruto and Vader and the relationship between their Naruto and Sasuke, which worries them. Vader's eyes widen hearing this. "You mean that you and her were?" he begins, trailing off as he sees Naruto nod. Naruto looks up at the sky for a moment and smiles. "Yeah, we're together and kept it secret. We were actually planning to retire from the order when the war ended, so we wouldn't have to keep it secret," he says, confirming Vader's suspicions. As Naruto coughs again and more blood trickles down the side of his mouth and knows his time is short, "You think an old friend can ask for a dying wish?" he asks. Vader is shocked by Naruto's question, but nods. "Very well, out of respect for your skills, I shall grant you a dying wish," he says. Naruto chuckles hearing this as it confirms that his hunch about there still being a little of Anakin left inside Darth Vader. "I wish to be cremated as a GT, and that you do not harm the people of Ryalth." They had no part in our battle and did not help us in any way, and they are innocent, he says. Vader thinks it over for a moment before nodding. Your last request shall be honored. Go into the Force in peace, he says as the light from Naruto's eyes fades and he passes on becoming one with the Force. By this point multiple people in the group have tears running down their cheeks. Well, they might not have known that version of Naruto. He was still in essence Naruto and it was hard seeing him die. Hinata is openly crying as she had to witness a version of the boy she loved die, which hurt her as it could just as easily happen to her Naruto. She makes a silent promise to herself that when they return to Konoha, she will tell him about her feelings for him. Naruto meanwhile has his head lowered and is shedding silent tears for the death of a version of himself. It was surreal for him to witness the death and a wake-up call that he himself could easily die on a mission. He silently vowed to himself to stop acting immature and start training harder than ever. Kurama, seeing the group needs a minute, silently pauses the scene to give everyone a moment. After a few minutes the group recovers. I am sorry you all had to see that as it was probably hard to watch. However, as I stated before, there may be times when you see things that are hard to watch. After watching these times I will give all of you a moment to gather yourselves before we continue watching. However, I will say that this story doesn't end here, he says before starting the scene again. Several hours later. Darth Vader watches as the last of the flames that engulf the deceased body of Jedi Knight Naruto Uzumaki die out when a clone trooper wearing the standard ARC trooper armor with orange stripes on it walks up to him. The trooper salutes before speaking. Lord Vader, we have finished counting the losses. We suffered 9,090 casualties and 909 wounded. All of the remaining 2,500 traitors belonging to the 909th Maelstrom Corps have been counted and every single one of them are dead, the clone says dutifully. Jiraiya lets a small smile to his face. It's kind of symbolic that the 909th inflicted that specific number of casualties and wounded on the enemy when you think about it, he says, getting nods from the others. Vader is silent for a moment before speaking. What of their bodies? He asks the clone. The clone nods, acknowledging the question before speaking. As per your orders, a grave was dug for each of them and they were buried with their rifles sticking in the ground in front of them and their helmets resting on their blasters. The clone says before pausing. My lord, permission to ask a question. He asks the Dark Lord of the Sith. Vader thinks for a moment before nodding. Permission granted, Commander Cody, he says to the now named Cody. Cody is silent for a moment. My lord, these men were traitors to the Empire for not following their orders. Why were they given such treatment after their deaths? The clone asks, confused as to why traitors would be given individual graves instead of being left to rot where they fell. Vader is slightly surprised by the clone's question, but answers nonetheless. While they may have been traitors at the end of their lives, they were some of the most elite soldiers during the war. The missions they went on protected the Empire while it was still the Republic and ensured its continued survival until the time was right for it to become the Empire it is now. That alone is enough for them to be buried in the way they were. However, when they did betray the Empire, they did not take the coward's way out by running and hiding. Instead, they stood their ground even though they knew they were going to die. They faced their imminent death with dignity, honor, and without fear. Those are the reasons why they were given such treatment in regards to their burial, Commander Vader says, explaining his reasoning. Vader then begins to walk towards his transport. Commander Cody, order the troops back to the ship. We are done here, he says, getting a salute from the clone. Vader takes one last look at the ashes of where his deceased former friend lay before continuing on his way. The group smiles a little seeing this, as it seems that version of Naruto was right and there is still some good left in Vader. Unknown location. Naruto opens his eyes to see himself in what appears to be a white void of nothingness. He gets up and looks around to see Stryker and the rest of the 909th, including those who died when the Red Fox self-destructed, which confuses him. He then spots two figures standing not far from them, causing his eyes to widen as he recognized them. The group is shocked to see this as they had just saw that version of Naruto die. The first is clearly a clone trooper and like Stryker he is wearing ARC trooper armor. However, unlike the orange and blue paint that signifies Stryker being part of the 909th, this trooper has an almost burned yellow color stripes on his armor. There is also a visor on the top of his helmet in place of the antenna that is on Stryker's helmet. This was Commander Bly of the 327th Star Corps, the same group of clone troopers that Isla was the GD general of. The other figure was a cerulean blue-skinned Twi'lek woman with chocolate brown eyes. She had a curvy figure with high CC cup breasts, a thin waist and curvy hips. She was wearing a brown skin-tight leather low-cut long-sleeve top that exposed a fair amount of her cleavage and ended just above her midriff, a pair of brown skin-tight leather pants that hugged her curvy hips and brown leather boots. On her head was a brown leather headdress that had leather strips wrapped protectively around her head, tails or leku as they called. The group is stunned by Isla's appearance and beauty. Most of the males of the group have to pinch their noses to stop the blood that was beginning to drip from them. The females on the other hand are speechless by her elegant beauty and flawless blue skin that only enhances it. Jiraiya begins to giggle perversely only to pale when he feels someone glaring at him. He turns his head to see Naruto giving him a death glare with his eyes red with black slits. Pervy sage, you had better not be thinking of using Isla in any way for your smut. If you do use her as a character model or even use her name, I will cut off your manhood, feed it to you, and then kill you. Is that understood? He yells, his voice sounding demonic. Jiraiya quickly nods his head and makes a mental note to never use any girl that he sees in the various worlds as research material. Anko lets out a whistle seeing Naruto like this damn gaki that was hot. She says before getting slapped upside the back of the head by Kurenai and receiving a slight glare from Hinata, who reluctantly had to agree with her. Kuro clears his throat with that over. How about we turn our attention back to what is happening, he suggests, trying to change the subject. Both Naruto and Isla spot each other and rush to each other, embracing the other as they meet with their foreheads resting against the others. Tears of joy roll down their cheeks at finally seeing each other again. Naruto leans back and cups Isla's cheek with a smile. I missed you, my blue angel, he says before gently pressing his lips to hers, expressing all of his pent-up emotions that were in him in the month since he felt her death through the force. The females of the group awe with the romantic moment while the guys nudge a blushing Naruto. Anko smirks. Damn gaki, who knew you could be such a romantic, she teases, causing him to blush even more. After a few minutes the two part to hear clapping and turn to see the smirking faces of Striker, the 909th, and Commander Bly, causing the two to blush slightly as they remember they aren't alone. Naruto rubs the back of his neck sheepishly. Whoops, forgot we weren't along here. Wherever here is, he says before the group is blinded by a bright light. When the light dies down, it reveals a white-haired woman with golden eyes wearing a white kimono. The woman looks at Naruto and smiles. You are a hard person to find, Naruto Uzumaki. For the last 18 years I have been looking for you since you disappeared from your dimension on the night of your birth, she says, shocking the group. Naruto just stares at the strange woman with a confused expression on the face and manages to say huh, causing the woman to sweat drop. Naruto, like his counterpart, is also confused and simply says huh, causing the group to sweat drop. The adults of the group, however, begin to worry a little as it seems like the secret regarding the night of Naruto's birth and a certain fox with 9 tails might be revealed. The woman coughs into her fist to regain her composure. Allow to introduce myself, my name is Hikari, or Kami if you will, one of the 3 great goddesses of the multiverse. Now, as I said, for the last 18 years I have been looking for you after you vanished into thin air after the Kyuubi no Kitsune was sealed into you on the night of your birth, she says, introducing herself and once again stating she had been looking for him. The adults of the group curse under their breaths at the secret being revealed to the younger generation. Naruto meanwhile looks down at his friends, finding out the truth about the Kyuubi and fearing that they will treat him like the majority of the villagers. The younger ninja gasp hearing the news about their friend and Kyuubi, but Hinata walks up to Naruto and hugs him, shocking him. You are not the Kyuubi, Naruto-kun, she says with all of her courage at hugging the boy she loves. Naruto is shocked by Hinata's words and returns the hug with tears running down his cheeks. Tsunade smiles seeing this before turning to the other genin. Alright, listen up, cause this is the truth of what happened the night of the Kyuubi attack, she says before explain what really happened the night the Kyuubi attacked. By the end of the explanation the younger generation was shocked too by what they had just heard. Kuro then clears his throat, getting their attention. Actually, Tsunade-san, I shouldn't be telling any of you this, but the Kyuubi is not at fault for its actions that night since it was being controlled. In fact, of the Biju, the Kyuubi is one foe the most peaceful, like the Sanbi and Nibi, he says, shocking the group that not only was the Kyuubi not at fault for its actions, but also was rather peaceful. Naruto raises an eyebrow hearing this. If that is the case, then how come whenever I met with the Kyuubi, it was all puny human, I will eat your soul and take over your body? He asks. Kuro chuckles hearing this. That is because it was still trying to fight off the mind control of the man responsible for its attack. In fact, since I brought all of you here, the effect have more than likely wore off. And on that note, he says before snapping his fingers, causing a massive shadow to loom over the group. The group looks up and pales upon seeing the Kyuubi free. Kuro smiles at the Kyuubi and waves. Yo, good to see you again, Kurama. He yells. The now named Kurama blinks before looking down and spotting Kuro. Kuro, what the hell are you doing here? Last thing I remember is us playing poker the night before my previous container was due to give birth, Kurama says, confused. Kuro chuckles. Well, my friend, you were ripped out of your previous container after she gave birth and basically mind-fucked into attack the Leaf Village before being sealed into the blonde boy who is scared shitless along with the rest of the group underneath you, he says. Kurum looks down and spots the group shaking in fear, especially the blonde-haired boy. Oh, hello down there, allow me to formally introduce myself. I am Kurama the Kyuubi no Kitsune. It's nice to meet all of you, he says, casually snapping everyone out of their shocked states. Jiraiya looks at Kuro with a panicked expression. Do you have any idea what you have done? He yells in a panicked voice. Kuro just raises an eyebrow. I temporarily let Kurama out of the seal without killing Naruto so that he could watch the events too. Besides, I don't see what the big deal is. I already told you Kurama isn't at fault for his actions and is actually peaceful, he says casually. Kurama hears this and decides to break the ice. I would like to apologize for my actions that night. I should have been strong enough to fight of the mind control, but I wasn't, and for that I am sorry, he says, sounding genuinely sorry. Hinata, hearing this, walks over to one of Kurama's paws and rubs its fur, shocking him, and the group, you are not to blame, Kurama-san, so there is nothing you need to apologize for, she says. Kurama's eyes widen before he smiles and shrinks his size down to that of an average fox and nuzzles against Hinata's leg. Thank you for your kind words, Hinata-san, he says. Kuro sees this and smiles. With that out of the way, how about we continue, okay, he suggests. Naruto then realizes something. Wait, Kuro-san, how do you know Kurama, he asks. Kuro smiles. Oh, Kurama and I go way back, in fact we are actually poker buddies and usually meet every Friday for our weekly game. By the way, Kurama, you still owe me 4 stakes from the last game, he says, causing Kurama to curse under his breath at Kuro, remembering that since it was over 13 years ago. Kuro then claps his hands. Alright, no more distractions, let's continue where we left off, he says as the group turns their attention back to the scene. Naruto just scratches his head in confusion. I honestly have no idea what you are talking about in regards to this Kyuubi no Kitsune. However, I was found on the steps of the GD temple on Coruscant when I was just an infant, he says, not really understanding what was going on. The Kari just face palms hearing this. Okay, this is getting us nowhere. How about I just show you the world you come from, give you a brief history about the inhabitants, and explain the whole Kyuubi no Kitsune situation to you, will that help? She says, getting nods from the group. The Kari then goes on to explain that he comes from a world of mercenaries called shinobi or ninjas, and that by using an internal system of energy called chakra, they are able to do amazing things like breathe fire and walk on water, to just name a few. The group of shinobi sweat drops at the generalized description of their way of life, not sure if they should take it as a compliment or insult. The Kari then goes on to explain how the night of Naruto's birth, the Kyuubi no Kitsune, one of the 9 Bijuu who are the guardians of the elemental nations and sadly have been misunderstood and sealed away into living people to be used as weapons in times of war. Seeing the appalled faces of the group, Hikari then goes on to explain that not all Jinchuriki, as they are called, are created for such a reason, and that it is sometimes a necessity to protect not only the Bijuu but also the people, as was Naruto's case. The Kari explains that the night of Naruto's birth a man came and kidnapped his mother Kushina Uzumaki, who had just given birth to him, and ripped the Kyuubi out of her as she was the previous Jinchuriki. The man then went on to use a special technique to force the Kyuubi to attack the Hidden Leaf village or Konoha, which was Naruto's home village. Naruto's father Minato Namikaze was forced to seal the Kyuubi into Naruto to protect the village which the Kyuubi had been destroying at the time. However, after the sealing was finished, Naruto vanished right in front of his parents' eyes. Naruto is speechless at what he just heard. The identity of his parents has been something he has wanted to know for as long as he could remember. To find out that your hero who you look up to was not only your father but also the man who was responsible for the majority of the sadness in his life was just too much to take in. Then there is the identity of his mother, someone who he has wanted to know about, possibly even more than his father. The rest of his age group is shocked to find out that their friend is the son of the Yondaime Hokage. Naruto looks up at Jiraiya, who has a saddened look on his face. You knew who my parents were, the Sandaime knew who my parents were and lied to my face every time I asked him who they were, he says, trailing off near the end. Jiraiya looks down at Naruto and sighs. Yes, we knew, Naruto, but we kept it secret for your own safety. Your parents were incredibly strong and had a lot of enemies, some of which are even inside Konoha itself. If they knew that you were the son of Minato and Kushina, you would have had numerous attempts on your life or kidnapping attempts before you were even a year old, let alone any older. It is for that reason that Tsurutobi-sensei and I kept your heritage a secret until you were old enough to protect yourself, he says, explaining his and the Sandaime's reasons for keeping Naruto's heritage a secret. Naruto punches Jiraiya in the gut, knocking the wind out of him before he begins stomping on him repeatedly. You think I give a shit about any of that? For nearly 14 years I have had to deal with utter loneliness and hatred from the very village my parents gave their life for. Then I find out that not only was I lied to my whole life in regards to their identity. Do you have any idea what it's like to listen to people say your mother was just some whore and your father a drunk from the very people who are only alive thanks to my family's sacrifices? He yells as he continues stomping on Jiraiya, all the while not noticing his eyes once again becoming a sulfuric yellow color. The Jonin sensei, seeing Naruto relentlessly beating on Jiraiya, pull Naruto off his bleeding and likely broken body as best they can but have trouble. Kurama, seeing this, jumps out of a shock to Hinata's arms and grows to the size of a horse before wrapping his tails around Naruto and pulling him off of Jiraiya. Enough, Naruto. He yells. Naruto turns to look at the fox, his eyes still a sulfuric yellow. You are the one who killed them, so why should I listen to a word you say? He yells. Kurama eyes widen hearing this because your mother was like a daughter to me and I have to live with the guilt that I killed her. He yells, shocking the group. Kurama's eyes begin to water as he continues, I have to live for all eternity, know that because I wasn't strong enough, I was controlled and used to kill the only person other than my siblings that I have seen as family. He continues. Naruto is shocked to hear this and begins to calm down and his eyes return to normal and he begins to cry. Off to the side, the majority of the other genin have tears in their eyes at what they just witnessed. None of them could imagine being able to go through what Naruto had and still being sane, let alone being able to smile. The Jonin sensei are of a like mind as their students. Anko on the other hand sympathizes with Naruto as she has received a similar treatment due to Orochimaru being her former sensei. Jiraiya, who had managed to pick himself up, he honestly wasn't surprised regarding Naruto's reaction to finding out the truth. As he got up he turned to see Tsunade glaring at him. You have a lot of explaining to do, Jiraiya, she says in a dangerous voice. Jiraiya gulps, seeing this. What do you want me to say, Tsunade? Sarutobi sensei and I did what we did for Naruto's safety, he says. Tsunade narrows her eyes hearing this. Is that why the two of you lied to me about Naruto being adopted and living happily with his adopted family? Jiraiya sighs. Yes, we lied to you about that, so you couldn't fulfill your duties as his godmother, just like how I didn't make contact with him till the month-long break before the Chunin exam finals. Your close friendship with Minato and Kushina was well known, and if it was discovered that you were taking care of a blonde-haired baby, people would connect the dots. He says, only to receive a punch from Tsunade as a result, sending him to the floor. Tsunade stares at the down form of Jiraiya. When we get back to Konoha, I am adopting Naruto like I should have been allowed to after Minato and Kushina's deaths. Furthermore, I will be having Katsaya-sama get in contact with Gamabunta and the other toads and tell her of your transgressions regarding Naruto. You are on very thin ice, Jiraiya. One more misstep and I will see to it that you never see Naruto again, she says before walking back over to the group, leaving Jiraiya to reflect on his many mistakes. Kuro sees Tsunade rejoin them and sighs. Now that most of us have calmed down, we can continue, he says before the scene starts playing again. Naruto rubs his temples as he tries to take in everything he had just been told. Okay, so I am from a different dimension, and in said dimension, my homeworld is full of people that are basically Mandalorians with superpowers. On the night I was born, a madman ripped a giant fox made of this chakra stuff given physical form out of my mother and used it to attack my home village. Then my father, who was the leader of said village, sealed said fox inside me and I disappeared right before their eyes afterward. I then ended up on the steps of the GD temple and was taken in and trained to be a GD. I later entered a secret relationship with my blue angel here and later died with my brothers in all but blood. Then to top it all off, I end up reunited with Isla and Blind Ice to see you again, by the way, in some kind of white void, and meet a goddess. Is that everything so far? He asks. Hikari nods her head. Yes, that is everything so far, she answers, the blonde-haired GD. Naruto just nods his head hearing this. Okay, now the only question I have is, why have you been looking for me for the last 18 years? He says, wondering why a goddess would spend so much time looking for a single mortal. Kakashi raises an eyebrow hearing this. You know, he has a point. Why would a goddess search for one person for so much time, he says. Hikari chuckles hearing this. It is because you the child of prophecy in your home dimension. You will either save and revolutionize your homeworld or destroy it in the darkness that is soon to engulf it, she says, finally getting to the reason she had been looking for him. The group is stunned to hear that Naruto, or at least that version of Naruto, has such an importance to the future of that version of their home. Naruto is shocked to hear this, but then realizes something. Well, that's all and good, but there is just one problem with all that. I'm dead, he says with a deadpan expression on his face. Kiba chuckles hearing this. You know, he has a point. He says, only to get a smack upside the back of his head before they continue to watch. Hikari giggles hearing this. Yes, you are, but I am a goddess. I can bring not only you but the rest of you back to life if you decide to return to your homeworld, she says, shocking the group. The group is shocked to hear this, but after a moment they remember that she is a goddess, so it really shouldn't be that surprising that she could bring Naruto, the 909th, and Isla back to life. Naruto looks to Striker and the rest of the 909th, and he gets a thumbs up from Striker. I say we take the offer, General. After all, the 909th doesn't abandon those we can save, he says, getting a cheer from the rest of the 909th. Naruto then looks to Bly, who just nods his head in agreement. Finally, Naruto looks to Isla, who has a smile on her angelic face. I say we accept the offer, Naruto. After all, as GD, it's our duty to help those in need. Besides, it would be nice to see your homeworld and we could finally be together as a real couple without having to hide it, she says before taking his hand in her own. Naruto smiles hearing this and kisses her cheek before turning to Hikari. Well, it's decided, we will accept your offer, he says with a grin. The group smiles, sighing this, as it wouldn't be Naruto if he refused to help someone in need when he had the power to do so. Hikari smiles upon hearing this. Very good, now I also have a few gifts for all of you. For the brave clone troopers, I have fixed a problem with your DNA that causes rapid aging that would have killed all of you within a decade. You now will all age normally and have an average human lifespan, she says, shocking the clones as they hadn't even known they had such a problem but were grateful it had been fixed. Hikari then looks at Isla and smiles. For you, Isla, I have awakened your dormant chakra coils. Like Naruto, your race has the ability to use chakra but never knew how to access it. This led to your race's chakra coils becoming dormant throughout all the generations, she says, shocking Isla that a race had such ability. Shizune's eyes widen seeing this. Wow, to think that there was a race in that dimension that could have possibly used chakra like we do, she says in wonder. Hikari then looks to Naruto. For you, Naruto, I have this as a gift, she says, before in a flash of light a little ways from them is the massive form of the red fox, completely restored and looking almost brand new. Hikari giggles seeing the wide eyes of the group. I present to you your ship, the Red Fox. She is completely repaired and still the same as she was the last time you saw her. As a bonus, I have included all of the equipment and vehicles that were aboard her at the time of her destruction, Hikari states, shocking the group even more. Hikari then mentally chuckles knowing Naruto will like this next bit of news. I have also informed your parents of my success in finding you and they can't wait to see you again and how much you have grown, she says with a kind smile. The group is shocked to hear that in that world Naruto's parents are alive. Naruto meanwhile can't believe that he will eventually get to see his parents if he keeps watching. Naruto smiles hearing this. Thank you for everything, Hikari, and I will do my best to repay you for these gifts, he says with a smile. Hikari giggles hearing this before pulling out a slip of paper with some numbers on it and hands it to Naruto. This is the location of a spot where you and your group can establish a base of operations away from prying eyes, since your home world's technological level is nowhere near what you will be bringing with you, she says. Naruto nods hearing this as he had been to worlds that were not very advanced technology-wise and had to do something similar as to not stat a panic. I understand, and we will be careful with how we use our technology, he says, getting a nod from Hikari. Naruto then begins leading the group towards the Red Fox and after they all get inside and the ship is powered up and lifts off the ground, Hikari snaps her fingers and they all disappear. In space orbiting Naruto's homeworld now called Eliminations. The group gasps finding themselves floating in space above what they assume is their home planet. In the empty space around Eliminations, a bright flash appears and when it dies down, it reveals the massive triangle shaped from of the Red Fox. On the bridge of the mighty Venator-class ship, Naruto, Isla, Striker and Bly look out the viewports at Naruto's homeworld and are amazed by its beauty. Naruto then gives the order for landing preparations to begin as he looks at the coordinates Hikari had given him. As he looks back up at Eliminations through the viewports, an eager grin came to his face as he felt things were going to be getting pretty interesting after all the Maelstrom had returned. The scene suddenly bedges into fade to black and the group looks over to Kuro. Well, that is the end of the first part of, and before we begin the second part, we will have a short break. Use this time to get something to eat and relax while reflecting on what you have just seen, he says as table of food and drink appears. End chapter 1. Kuro stood off to the side watching as the group got themselves some snacks and drinks while talking about what they had just seen. He could tell that the majority of them were affected quite heavily by what they saw and everything they learned regarding Naruto, Kurama, and the identity of Naruto's parents. Then there was the reveal about Jiraiya and the Sandaime playing a role in Naruto's early life, as it could not be called a childhood. Kuro sighs before taking a drink of his soda as things were going to get harder for the group as they continued to view the various worlds in his sector. He worried how much of a negative effect it would have on the group, especially when they got around to worlds like Maelstrom and DC and Naruto Saurian Soul, where it has a really traumatic start. Then there were worlds like Total Drama Maelstrom that had a detailed traumatic flashback in it. Kuro then shifts his gaze to Naruto, who is talking with Tsunade, with surprisingly Hinata standing next to him holding chibi-sized Kurama in her arms. He had a feeling that something was changing in Naruto, judging by the brief flashes of when his eyes changed to that sulfuric yellow color with a red ring around them. Kuro had a hunch about what was happening but would need to keep an eye on it for a little while longer before asking Hikari-sama if he was right. That reminds him he would need to have someone fill in for him for a little while. He did so. Kuro stands there pondering who he could get to cover for him when he gets an idea and smiles. He could get a version of Naruto from one of the worlds in his sector to cover for him and there was only one version in particular that he could entrust with the job. This particular Naruto's world was already being recorded, but he kept no record of it at the moment since it was classified and not ready for his followers to view yet. As he finishes mapping out his plan, Kuro clears his throat, getting everyone's attention. Okay everyone, how about we continue where we left off? He suggests as the group gathers round and he starts up the pedestal again and the group begins watching once more. Naruto was standing on the bridge of the Red Fox as it orbited his homeworld. He was waiting for the scans of the area that would become their new home to be finished so they could begin landing. At his side was Isla, who like him was anxious to go down to their new home. Naruto raises an eyebrow. I wonder where they will land. He says, getting nods from the group as they also wonder the same thing. As the two stood there holding each other's hand with their fingers interlaced, they heard the sounds of footsteps approaching and turned to see one of the 909th walking up to them. The trooper stops a foot from them and gives a quick salute, much to the two former generals' dismay, and the troopers hid in amusement as it was a running bit with the troopers to keep treating the two GD as their generals even though they were no longer a part of the Republic. The trooper clears his throat before beginning. Generals, we have completed the scan of the coordinates that Hikari gave us. The coordinates are those of a large island surrounded by whirlpools. However, the two of you need to see what is on the island before going down, he says, sounding grim near the end. The eyes of the adults of the group widen hearing this, as there is only one place in the entire elemental nations that matches that description. Shizune looks to Tsunade. Tsunade-sama, you don't think it means that place? She whispers. Tsunade sighs quietly. I am almost positive it does, Shizune, she whispers solemnly. The three walk over to a large holographic projector that begins showing what appears to be a large village. However, what shocks the two lovers is that it is in a state of ruin and nearly all of the buildings have the same red whirlpool symbol that adorns Naruto's right shoulder guard. The younger generation's eyes widen seeing this. Why do all those have the same mark as the one on my jacket? Naruto asks, confused by what he is seeing. Kakashi sighs, that is because they are the ruins of Uzumaki and home to the Uzumaki clan, he says somberly, shocking the younger generation. Naruto is stunned by what he just heard. I am from a clan? He asks in disbelief. Jiraiya sighs, since the cat is out of the bag. Yes, the Uzumaki were a clan and a very close ally to Konoha. The first Hokage's wife Mito was actually an Uzumaki. In fact, the Uzumaki were incredibly skilled in not only Kenjutsu but also Fuinjutsu, and adding in their long lifespan and stamina made them really powerful. However, it was due in part to this that led to their near destruction, sadly. Hirigakure, Kumagakure and Iwagakure feared the growing power of the Uzumaki clan and Uzumaki. The three villages made an alliance and attacked Uzumaki during the Second Shinobi War, he explains, shocking the group. Tsunade sighs sadly, from what we were able to gather after the attack ended, they tried to send word for aid from Konoha, but their messages were all intercepted by the enemy. Konoha didn't even know they were attacked until a fatally wounded Uzumaki escorting a young Kushina arrived at the gates of Konoha. The man died shortly after informing us of the attack, and Konoha sent as many shinobi as it could spare to aid their allies, but it was too late. When they got there, all of the Uzumaki were dead, along with what they estimated to be nearly 45,000 enemy forces, which was an amazing feat since the Uzumaki only had around 4,000 shinobi, she says sadly. The group has their heads down, and many of them are crying hearing this, but Naruto looks up with his bangs covering his eyes that once again have changed to a sulfuric yellow. Why have none of us heard about this before, he says in a dangerous tone. Tsunade's eyes widen hearing this. What do you mean? You all should have learned about this in the academy. After all, the Uzumaki helped found Konoha. She asks in confusion. Hinata wipes the tears from her eyes before looking at Tsunade. Tsunade-sama, the Uzumaki clan was never mentioned or in any of the textbooks. We were taught that it was the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan that founded Konoha, she says honestly, shocking Tsunade. Jiraiya sighs hearing this. That is because the all knowledge of the Uzumaki clan was removed from the academy textbooks and curriculum by the civilian council and the Sandaime, he says, getting everyone's attention. Tsunade glares at Jiraiya. What was the reason for that? She asks in a dangerous voice, having an idea of why it was done. Jiraiya winces seeing this to protect Naruto from possible threats. If knowledge about the Uzumaki clan was made public or taught, then someone could do digging and stumble across Kushina's name and from there connect the dots between Naruto and his parents' identity. The civilian council initially proposed the idea of removing information about the Uzumaki clan, despite Naruto not knowing his lineage. Sarutobi-sensei then used the opportunity to add more layers of security to protect Naruto from his parents' enemies, he says right before both Tsunade and Naruto punch him into the ground, creating a crater. Kuro, seeing where this is going, decides to intervene. Now before you beat the pervert to death, let's get back to the story. After all, you can punish him later, he says, snapping the two out of the rage as they reluctantly nod in agreement. The group minus an unconscious Jiraiya then goes back to watching the other version of Naruto. Naruto's eyes widen seeing this as he continues to stare at the image. Kickster, how long before we can begin landing? He asks the now named Kickster. The trooper nods hearing this. We can begin right away. Generals Stryker and Bly have just finished taking inventory of our supplies and prepping what we will need immediately after landing, he says in response. Naruto nods hearing this. Very well, inform the men that we will begin landing immediately. However, the Red Fox and a small crew will remain in orbit of the planet for the time being, he says, getting a salute from Kickster, who then begins to administer the orders over the ship-wide communication system. Naruto and Isla make their way to the turbolift, and as they step inside and begin their descent to the hangar, Isla turns to him. "Naruto, don't worry, we will find out why those ruins have the same insignia as your necklace," she says, trying to comfort her lover. The females of the group smile seeing this as they can feel the love that Isla has for Naruto. Naruto smiles hearing this as he reaches into the front of his robes and pulls out a small circle-shaped pendant on gold chain. On one side of the pendant was a red swirl that resembled a whirlpool and was the same symbol that adorned his armor. On the other side of the pendant was his name. This pendant and an orange blanket were the only things he had been found with when he was found on the steps of the GD temple and were his most prized possessions. Naruto puts the necklace back inside his robes and kisses Isla's cheek. "Thank you, my blue angel," he says lovingly as the lift stops and the doors open. More than a few of the females in the group all was seeing the tender moment between Naruto and Isla. Naruto on the other hand blushes a little in embarrassment at the group seeing a loving moment between a version of him and said version's lover. The two step into the large hangar and see the 909th loading up equipment and readying the transports. They make their way over to Stryker and Bly who are standing next to an lot gunship. As they reach the two, Naruto smiles. "What is assessment of our equipment and is everything ready to begin landing?" he asks. Stryker nods hearing this. "We have a total of 72 gunships, with 12 of those being Lot Cs, 36 AT-Ts, 24 AT-APs, 12 AT-OTs, 60 AT-RTs, 72 BARC speeder bikes, 48 ARC 170 starfighters, 48 Z-95 headhunter starfighters, 24 V-19 Torrent starfighters, and 36 Y-wing bombers. Also yours and General Sakura's personal Delta 7 ether sprites, along with your astromech droids, have been accounted for. In regards to weapons, we have enough blaster rifles and blaster carbines to equip everyone with 2 of each. We also have a significant number of heavy repeaters. In terms of ammo, we have nearly 5 years worth of ammo including grenades, blaster packs, rockets, a few mobile shield generators, and even a stationary one we could use to shield our new home," he says, listing of all of the different vehicles they had at their disposal. The group watches as Stryker lists off the various supplies and are confused in regards to what they are talking about. Kuro sees this and chuckles. "Sorry about that, I forgot you had no idea what any of those are," he says before snapping his fingers, causing a series of pictures to appear. The group looks at the pictures which show what each vehicle looks like and are amazed by them. Kiba drools seeing the picture of the BARC speeder bike. "Dude, that BARC speeder bike thing looks awesome," he says in excitement. Shikamaru looks at the various pictures, particularly the ones that have Starfighter in their name. "What does it mean by Starfighter?" he asks. Kuro chuckles. "Starfighters are a type of craft that fly through the air and even in space. They specialize in fighting against other Starfighter-class ships, but can also be used against bigger ships to a lesser effect and can even provide air support for ground troops if needed," he explains. Shikamaru's eyes widen hearing this. To be able to fly in the sky amongst the carefree clouds was so not troublesome. After the group finishes looking at the picture of the various vehicles, they turn their attention back to the other version of Naruto. Naruto whistles hearing this. "Wow, that is a lot of firepower," he says, impressed by their stash. He then clears smirks. "Okay then, let's get loaded up and down to our new home then," he says, getting a cheer from the group as they all rush to their respective stations. Naruto and Isla get in the gunship nearest them with Stryker and Bly, and the gunship lifts off the hangar floor, closing its doors. The pilot brings the gunship around and flies out the open hangar doors and heads towards Eliminations, followed by the rest of the gunships, carrying the rest of the troops in various vehicles, with Naruto and Isla's Delta 7s being flown by their astromechs bringing up the rear. The group soon enters the planet's atmosphere and nears the coordinates of the landing zone, and the pilot brings the gunship in for a landing and opens the doors, letting those inside disembark. As the group takes their first step on their new home, the other gunships begin landing and the troops and vehicles they are carrying begin filling out. Naruto turns to the group. "Okay men, split into groups and begin sweeping the village. However, stay on the lookout for possible traps, and if you find something suspicious, radio it in first and wait for my arrival. We have no idea what we will find and I don't want anyone taking unnecessary risks, is that understood?" he says, getting a roger from the troops as they begin entering the village. Asuma whistles seeing this. "Wow, the kid's a natural born leader it seems," he says, impressed by the other version of Naruto's tactics regarding entering the village safely. Kakashi nods in agreement hearing this. "I agree, instead of rushing into the village, he and his forces cautiously enter to prevent possible casualties since they don't know if there are traps," he says as the group continues to watch. When the group enters the village, they are stunned by what they find. The skeletal remains of hundreds, no thousands of people of varying ages litter the ground and many buildings show signs of battle damage. The village wasn't abandoned. Everyone inside it had just been killed in battle or simply butchered from the looks of some of the remains. The group gasps seeing this. The younger generations are horrified by what they are seeing and feel sick to their stomach. The older generation is also horrified by what they are seeing. Even though they are used to seeing death, they have never seen something like this before. Naruto lowers his head and clenches his fists in rage, seeing the remains of his dead kin littering the ground. Hinata, seeing this, begins to reach out to comfort him, but hesitates. Kurama, seeing Hinata trying to comfort Naruto, gives her a little nudge, catching her attention before he nods in support, boosting her confidence for her. Hinata steals her resolve and puts her hand on Naruto's back to comfort him, getting his attention and causing him to smile at her for the support as the group continues watching the events before them. Naruto turns to look at Bly, who is standing next to Isla. Bly, I want you and a quarter of the troops to go around and collect all of the remains. Then dig a grave for each of them and lay them to rest. If it looks like some of the remains might be a family based on how they fell, then bury them close together. Is that understood? He asks, getting a nod from Bly. Bly then begins to head off, only to stop when he hears Naruto talking. Oh, and Bly, be gentle with the remains, these poor souls have suffered enough. Okay, he says, getting another nod from Bly. The group then begins to split off into smaller groups and go about their orders as Naruto, Isla, and Striker make their way to the largest building in the village, figuring it is likely where they will find answers as to what could have happened here. The trio reaches the building and makes their way to the main office, which shows some signs of battle, and the remains of a man wearing white robes with red swirls on them rest. They begin to look around for answers when Naruto feels the force guiding him towards one of the cracked pictures of a man on the wall. He slides the picture to the side, and a swirl carved into the wall begins to glow before a small red book drops into his hands. Isla and Striker notice this and walk over to Naruto as he opens the book and begins to read. My name is Kenshin Uzumaki, the Sandame Uzukage of Uzusha Shogakure, the village hidden in eddies, and current head of the Uzumaki clan. He reads with wide eyes at finding out that this village was the home of his clan. Tsunade's eyes widen hearing this. I don't believe it, she says, catching everyone's attention. Naruto raises an eyebrow hearing this. What do you mean, Bachan? He asks in confusion. Tsunade's eyebrow twitches at the Bachan comment but takes a deep breath to calm down before she responds. Kenshin Uzumaki was the nephew of my grandmother Mito and your grandfather Naruto, she says, dropping the bomb, so to speak, on everyone. Tsunade then continues her explanation. From what Granny Mito used to tell me when I was a kid, the Uzumaki clan was organized in a way similar to how things are run in the rest of the elemental nations. They had a royal family, so to speak, that ruled similar to the daimyos, and then they had the various other branches that made up the rest of the village. Now, as for the Uzukage position, it was usually filled by the strongest person in the village. However, what is really significant is that Kenshin Uzumaki was not only the Uzukage, but also the heir to the royal family. This means that you, Naruto, are a prince, she says, shocking everyone. The group is left speechless hearing this and finding out that Naruto is a prince. Naruto meanwhile is doing a pretty good impression of a fish opening and closing his mouth. Hinata faints after hearing that her crush that she honestly thought of as a knight in shining armor or even her Prince Charming when she was younger and discovered the depth of her love for the boy is actually a prince. Sakura just stands there stunned by the fact that Naruto of all people is an actual prince. Anko whistles hearing this. Damn, who would have thought that the Gaki is a frigging actual prince, she says, laughing at the end. After a few minutes everyone snaps out of their shock and continues watching. Isla gasps hearing this, and Striker clenches his fist in anger as Naruto continues to read. I am writing this as my last entry. The combined forces of Kurigakure, Kumagakure and Iwagakure at this time making their way across the ocean to lay siege to our village. We have prepared all we can, even with the advanced warning our friends within each village gave us, but I fear our end is nigh. The enemy forces number nearly 60,000 compared to our roughly 4,000. We have tried sending word to our ally Konoha about the attack, however none of our messengers made it past the enemy. I have ordered the civilians into the hidden crystal shelters and am preparing myself to make our last stand against the enemy alongside my men. I leave this journal as a testament to our sacrifice in hopes that we will not be forgotten. I also leave a map to the hidden shelters as only an Uzumaki could find this journal. Naruto finishes reading and wipes some tears from his eyes before he looks at Striker and Isla, who are doing the same. Naruto clears his throat. We need to find the shelters mentioned in this book. It is likely that the civilians have already fled or didn't make it, but we need to be certain, he says, getting a nod. The trio makes their way to the location described in the book. When they reach the location, Naruto spots another red swirl engraved into the ground and touches it, causing a section of the ground in front of them to recede and reveal an underground tunnel. Naruto and Isla activate their lightsabers, and Striker turns on his helmet's built-in flashlights, and they make their way onto the tunnel. Denton up one once again seeing the lightsabers begins to drool with a dazed look in her eyes. I really want one, she says, once again causing her teammates to pale. Kuro meanwhile rubs his chin as he thinks about maybe letting the young weapon mistress handle one for a little bit. After around 5 minutes of wailing they reach a cave and causing Naruto to curse Striker. Contact a demolition crew. We are going to need to blast our way in, he says, getting a nod from Striker, who does just that. A few minutes later a trooper with a robotic hand walks up and salutes Herd. "You need something opened up in an explosive way, General," he jokes, getting a sigh from Stryker at the lame pun. Naruto just chuckles that I do. Boomer, please be careful though, what is behind this cave-in could be very fragile, and I really rather not have a repeat of what caused you to lose your hand, he says. Boomer laughs hearing this. "No worries Naruto, I will open this up really carefully," he says, and begins to set the charges as Naruto, Ayla and Stryker step farther back than they really needed to. This was due in part to Boomer. He was a top-notch demolitions expert, but could be a tad bit excessive when it came to the amount of explosives needed to blow something opener up. It was this excessiveness that led him to blowing off his right hand at one point during the war. The Jonin sensei raise an eyebrow hearing this, as it reminds them of one person in particular, a certain purple-hairy, dango-loving snake mistress. They then look at said person who has a grin on her face that sends shivers down their spines. After a few minutes Boomer comes back and gives them a thumbs up with his robotic hand and holds up a detonator in the other and smirks fire in the hole. He yells before detonating the explosives send a cloud of dust their way. When the dust clears and the group stops coughing, Naruto looks at Boomer with one of his eyebrows twitching. "Thank you for the help Boomer," he says evenly. Boomer just smirks behind his helmet, happy to help General. "Now I will take my leave," he says before walking out of the tunnel whistling a tune the whole way. The majority of the group sweat drops seeing this except for Naruto and Anko, who are laughing their asses off, and Jiraiya, who is still unconscious. The Jonin senseis look at the laughing Anko and collectively think, yep, just like Anko in regards to Boomer's personality. Naruto takes a deep breath to calm himself before he looks to Ayla and Stryker. "Well, let's continue, shall we?" he says before they continue making their way down the tunnel. They reach the end of the tunnel and it opens into a massive underground room, and the light from the lightsabers and flashlights reflect off of thousands of crystals lining the walls of the room. The group looks around for a bit, confirming their fears as they spot the remains of hundreds of people. Naruto notices a tablet of some kind and walks up to it with Ayla and reads the writing on it. "We, the Uzumaki clan, shall live on through the sacred crystals in this room. We are a force that shall never fade away like the crystals themselves which exude their own force," he reads. Naruto walks over to one of the crystals and gently pulls it from the wall before giving it a closer look. After a moment his eyes shoot wide open and he looks to Ayla. "These are kyber crystals." He nearly yells, shocked that the key component in a lightsaber existed on his homeworld. The group is shocked upon hearing this, as they weren't expecting some so important to a weapon from the dimension that version of Naruto grew up in being there. Ayla is shocked to hear this. "You mean that this room is full of lightsaber crystals? How is that possible? We are in a totally different dimension," she asks. Naruto rubs his chin for a moment as he thinks, "I am not sure, maybe kyber crystals like the force exist in multiple dimensions. We are still able to feel the force in this dimension, so it is not that much of a stretch to believe that there are crystals here that have absorbed some of it like those on Ilum," he says. The two then look over to Stryker, who is waiting for them. "Stryker, can you have Bly's group also take care of the remains in here? I need some time to take in everything we have learned here today," he says, getting a nod from Stryker as he contacts Bly through the communicator on his wrist. Shizune's eyes widen hearing this. "Wow, to think that there is something that can transcend dimensions like that is astounding," she says in amazement, getting nods from the rest of the group. Naruto looks over to Ayla and holds her hand within his own. "How about we go get some rest, it has been a tiring day," he suggests, getting a nod from her as the two make their way out of the crystal room. They make their way past the troopers going about their business, either helping remove the remains of the deceased Uzumaki or trying to fix some of the buildings to make them habitable. They then reach a large open area near where the gunships landed that has been converted into a makeshift living area filled with tents. The two pick one of the tents and go inside, lying down on the sleeping bag inside and hold each in their arms as they drift off to sleep. Several hours later, Naruto awakes suddenly after the force told him that he was needed in a land of waves and a bridge. His sudden awakening wakes up Ayla, who looks at him in concern. "What is it, Naruto?" she asks, worried about her love. Naruto's eyes widen hearing this. "Wow, it sounds like that version of me is going to Wave Country, right, Kakashi-sensei?" he says, looking at the one-eyed Jonin. Kakashi smiles hearing this. "It seems so, Naruto. Maybe that version of you will meet me there," he says, jokingly, getting a chuckle from the group. Naruto looks down to Ayla, who had been resting her head on his chest. "The force has told me that we need to go to a land of waves and a bridge. I only caught glimpses of it, but there will be a battle there and I will meet someone who can show me to my parents," he says, kissing her forehead. The group's eyes widen hearing this as Naruto looks at Kakashi with a pale face. "Kakashi-sensei, can you predict the future?" he asks in shaky voice, causing some of the group to sweat drop hearing this and a few to face plant the ground. Kurama meanwhile chuckles to himself seeing this as the group recovers and goes back to continues watching. Ayla looks at Naruto with wide eyes for a moment before she smiles and kisses his cheek. "Well then, what are we waiting for?" she says, getting a chuckle from Naruto as they get up and leave the tent. After walking for a bit they find Striker talking with Bly and walk over to him. Naruto, good to see you're rested up. We have finished collecting and burying the remains of the deceased Uzumaki clan members. We have also begun working on either repairing the buildings that can be salvaged or tearing down the ones can't and replacing them with new ones. We have also finished clearing out a spot for the Red Fox to land at some point so we can offload the vehicles that the transports couldn't carry, he says, listing off what they had been up to since Naruto and Isa had been asleep. Naruto smiles hearing this. Good work, Striker and Bly, thank you for taking care of my deceased clan members, he says, getting a nod from Bly. Naruto then adopts a serious expression. Striker, I have received a vision from the Force and we need to head to a land of waves. It will also have a bridge being built. Did the scans pick up any such place nearby? He asks. Unknown to the rest of the group, Naruto also mentally thanks Bly for laying to rest the deceased members of that Naruto's clan to rest. Striker rubs his chin for a moment before snapping his fingers. Yes, we did detect a nearby village similar to that description on the edge of our scanning range when we scanned the area, he says, answering Naruto's question. Naruto nods hearing this. Good, we are taking a platoon and making our way there in the gunships. Load up on ammo, along with food and medical supplies. I fear we will especially be needing the latter too, so fill one of the gunships with them, he says, getting a salute from Striker as he leaves to carry out his orders. Naruto then turns to Bly. Bly, you are in command here while Isa, Striker, and I are away. Keep up the work trying to repair the village and building new buildings. Also see if you can catch anything in the surrounding waters since it would help us save some of our food supplies. Finally, have the Red Fox scan the surrounding waters to see if they contain any of the elements we need to maintain our vehicles, he says, getting a yes sir from Bly before he leaves. The adults of the group are once again impressed by the leadership skills of the version of Naruto they are currently watching. A half hour later, Naruto and Isa are standing by one of the gunships with Striker and a platoon of troopers nicknamed the Rangers. Naruto turns to look at the platoon. Our mission is to head to the nearby land of waves. Once there we will assess the situation and react accordingly. In the event that we encounter hostiles, shoot to stun first, that way we can interrogate them for information. If they attack you are authorized to use lethal force as a last resort, is that understood? He says, getting nods from the group. Naruto and Isa then put the hoods on their GD robes up concealing their faces and step foot into the gunship, followed by Striker and a squad from the platoon. The rest of the platoon climbs into the other gunships and the group lifts off and makes their way towards the land of waves. Due to the speed of the gunships they arrive quickly and land in a forested section. They disembark and make their way towards the village when Naruto hears someone screaming and runs off in the direction it came from. Isa and the platoon right behind him. Naruto reaches that he heard the scream come from and arrives just in time to see a man raise a sword in preparation to kill a woman. He immediately garbs his lightsaber and activates it, the blue blade coming to life with a snap hiss. Naruto swings, cleaving through the man's arm, severing it at the elbow. The man's severed arm falls to the ground and he starts to scream only to be struck from behind by a blue ring of light, causing him to fall to the ground unconscious. Naruto deactivates his lightsaber and looks to see Isa walking up with a platoon of troopers and sees the barrel of one of Striker's blaster pistols, smoking. Good shot, Captain. Have a squad take this man for interrogation, find out all he knows, and tell them not to hold back, he says with a dangerous tone near the end as he can't stand the hurting of innocents. Anko Wolf whistles, seeing this. Damn Gaki, you acting all authoritative and sadistic like that was pretty hot. She says with a grin and glint in her eyes. Kurenai smacks her friend upside the back of her head hearing this. Anko, behave. She says sternly. Anko pouts hearing this. Come one Nai-chan, you have to agree that it was pretty hot. She says in her defense. Naruto blushes hearing this, however Hinata also blushes since she had to agree with Anko on that one. Striker nods and issues the orders as 4 troopers walk up and begin dragging the unconscious man away. Naruto then turns to look at the shocked face of the woman he just saved. Are you okay, miss? He asks. The woman sits there shocked by all that has just taken place before she snaps out of her daze. Yes, I am, thank you for the help, but who all of you are? She asks. Naruto chuckles hearing this and lowers his hood revealing his face, and Isa does the same. I am GD Master Naruto Uzumaki. This is my girlfriend GD Master Isa Sakura, and behind me is Captain Striker and a portion of the 909th Maelstrom Corps. He says, introducing everyone. The woman is shocked by the appearance of the one named Isa, but gets over it quickly when she realizes she hasn't introduced herself. My name is Tsunami, and I thank you for saving me, she says, getting up from the ground and dusting herself off. Naruto's eyes widen hearing this as he turns to Kakashi. Kakashi-sensei, it is Tsunami-san, he says, happily getting a nod from Kakashi, who smiles behind his face mask. Naruto chuckles hearing this. Don't mention it, now can you tell me what is happening in your village? He says. The woman nods and begins to tell how a tyrant named Gato of Gato Shipping Industries came to the village a year ago and has essentially taken over the village and the surrounding waters. Tsunami then goes on to explain how her father is building a bridge that would link the land of waves with the land of fire and remove their dependency on the surrounding waters. She then explains that Geto wouldn't stand for this and sent assassins after her father to the point that he has gone to Konoha to request protection while he finishes the bridge. Naruto clenches his fist as he listens to Tsunami go on and on about everything Geto and his thugs has done. Tsunami, I swear that not only myself but also the 909th will free your home from the tyranny of Geto, he says, getting nods from the platoon of troops. Naruto then turns to the platoon. I want 2 squads to head out and keep an eye out for Tsunami's father and the shinobi from Konoha. The shinobi will be wearing a headband with a metal plate that has a swirl-like leaf engraved on it. The rest of you will patrol the village and round up all of Geto's thugs, interrogate them, afterwards execute them. However, you will also begin distributing the food and medical supplies we brought with us to the people of Wave. He says, giving out his orders and getting a salute from the platoon who leaves to carry out their orders. Ayla is a little shocked that Naruto would issue the order to execute Geto's thugs so easily, but after all the atrocities she had heard they have been committing, she agrees with him. Death is what they deserve. Some of the younger generation is a little shocked by what they just saw. Ino turns to Naruto and Sakura. Was it really that bad there when you guys went on that mission? She asks. Sakura shakes her head. No, it was worse. The whole village was run down, there were kids out in the street, wearing what could easily be mistaken for rags, begging for food, and that is just the tip of the kunai, so to speak, on how bad it was, she answers, shocking those that didn't know the whole details regarding Team 7's mission to Wave. As they were walking, Ayla leans over to Naruto to whisper, since when are we GD masters? She asks. Naruto just chuckles quietly. Well, I figured that since we found those kyber crystals and can feel the force here, that there is a chance that there might be Force-sensitive people on this planet. That being the case, it is our duty to instruct thee in the ways of the GD and build our own GD order. It only makes sense for the 2 of us to be GD masters, then Raidi whispers back. Naruto then gets a devilish idea. Or is there something wrong with my logic, Master Sakura? He whispers seductively in her ear. More than a few of the females of the group either blush heavily or get a nosebleed hearing that version of Naruto talk so seductively. Anko even licks her lips seductively hearing it. Ayla shudders slight and a small blush adorns her cheeks before she gets a seductive smirk. Nothing is wrong with your logic, Master Uzumaki, she purrs seductively into his ear, getting a shudder from him, and a slight blush adorns his own cheeks as the group continues on their way to Tsunami's house, oblivious of the conversation between the 2 lovers. Just like the females in regards to that version of Naruto talking seductively, many of the males get a nosebleed, and a few even have to adjust their pants to hide their growing arousal upon hearing Ayla talk so seductively. Naruto even pulls a hinata as his entire face turns red, with the addition of him having a nosebleed. A week later. A week had passed since the arrival of Naruto, Ayla and the troopers, and in that week they had been very busy. The troopers had been rounding up Geto's thugs and interrogating them before executing them. The food and medical supplies that they brought had been distributed to the people of Wave, to which they were extremely grateful for. They had also been keeping a lookout for Tsunami's father, who was named Tazuna, apparently along with a shinobi from Konoha. The entire group had become somewhat of celebrities around the land of Waves for all they had done. Ayla had especially become popular as the children of Wave just loved spending time with her. They even thought of her as some kind of blue angel that descended from the heavens to help them in their time of need. This of course got a laugh out of Naruto and Striker, since it actually wasn't that far off, since they did technically come from off-world. But the group of troopers looking out for the Konoha shinobi. The troopers are keeping watch as they had been doing for the past week when they hear voices and head towards the location. When they reach the location, they see an old man matching the description of Tsunami's father Tazuna, along with 1 adult and 3 teenagers who look no older than 16, all wearing the headbands signifying they are from Konoha. The troopers step out from behind the trees, causing the shinobi to get into defensive stances. The leader of the squad steps forwards with his hands raised, showing he means no harm. Are you the Tazuna, the bridge builder and father of Miss Tsunami? The leader asks. Tazuna raises an eyebrow. Hearing this depends on who is asking. He responds warily given the events that have taken place the last few days. The lead trooper removes his helmet, showing his dark tanned skin, golden brown eyes and close-shaved head. He also has a 9 tattoo on his right temple. I am CT-9099-9s. We have orders to safely escort you and the Konoha shinobi to your house, where your daughter and our general is waiting to speak with you, and the leader of the group from Konoha, he says, surprising the group. Azuna looks over to the silver-haired man wearing his headband like an eye patch. Do you think we should trust them, Kakashi-san? He asks the leader of the Konoha group. Kakashi thinks it over for a moment before deciding to trust his gut. My gut is telling me they mean us no harm, so I say we go with them, he says, getting a nod from the black-haired boys and the pink-haired girl that make up Team 7. The Jonin sensei sweat drops seeing this and look to Kakashi. Really, Kakashi, you are just going to trust your gut on a situation like that? Kurenai asks in a little disbelief regarding how that version of him handled the situation. Kakashi just shrugs. What can I say? Sometimes you just have to trust your gut, he says in his defense, getting a hear hear from Choji. The group then follows Nines and his fellow troopers as they make their way to the village and Tizuna's house. When they reach the village, Tizuna and the shinobi from Konoha are shocked by the state of the village and its people. The people are walking around with smiles on their faces, kids are playing with sticks that look like the weapons the troopers are carrying and pretending they are like the troopers. Troopers are seen patrolling and helping out anyone they see that needs help and handing out food and medical supplies. The two remaining members of Team 7 are shocked upon seeing how different that version of Wave looks compared to how it looked when they arrived there. The group continues on their way with people waving at the troopers here and there until the troopers see an figure wearing a brown hooded robe that hides his face kneeling down by a young boy wearing a hat. Tizuna recognizes the boy as his grandson Inari and is about to rush to his side when the troopers escorting them stop and snap to attention. General, we have located and escorted Tizuna and the Konoha shinobi, as per your orders, Nine says. The brown-robed figure stands up and turns to the group, his hood hiding his face. Very good, men, that will be all for now. Feel free to get something to eat and some rest, as it must have been tiresome out in the woods for a week, he says, getting a thank you sir from the troopers before they leave. The hooded figure then looks to the group and they can see a small smile on his face as he reaches up and lowers his hood, revealing his spiky blonde hair, blue eyes, and whiskered cheeks, getting wide eyes from Kakashi. The blonde young man then smiles. Allow me to introduce myself, I am GD Master Naruto Uzumaki, and I have been looking forward to meeting you, he says with a foxy smile. The surroundings once again fade and return to the white void that they arrive in. Kuro then smiles. Well, that is the end of chapter 2 of Return of the Maelstrom. Now at this point I offer a choice. We can continue to watch the events of the Return of the Maelstrom world. Or we can take a break from it and watch some of the other worlds before coming back to it later, he says. The group huddles up and begins to discuss what they want to do for a bit before turning back to Kuro, who is still smiling. End chapter 2. Naruto looks at Kuro with the group. We have decided that we want to take a break from this world and watch another for a bit, he says, informing Kuro of the group's decision. Kuro nods, hearing this. Okay, then have you decided on which world you want to watch next? He asks. Naruto nods back. Yes, we would like to view the Total Drama Maelstrom world, he says with a smile, wondering what that world's version of himself will be like. Kuro nods, hearing this. Very well, I will warn you though that there is a traumatic event that happens pretty early in that world. However, other than that, it is one of the most peaceful worlds in my sector, he says, surprising the group. Kuro smiles before continuing. Now before we begin I will give you a little backstory for the world. It centers around a version of Naruto, of course. However, in this world he is a contestant on a reality television show in which the winner gets $100,000 or roughly 10 million yen in your currency, he says, shocking the group that the winner would get such a big prize. Kuro chuckles, seeing this. Anyway, let's get started, shall we? He says before pushing a button on the pedestal and the room changes once again and the group begins watching. Yo, we're coming at you live from Camp Wawenka somewhere in Matoska, Ontario. I'm your host Chris McLean. Dropping season 1 of the hottest new reality television shows at this very moment. 23 campers singed up to spend 8 weeks here at this old summer camp. Every few days they will face challenges with the winners earning a reward and the loser having to send one of their own to walk the dock of shame to the loser boat and leave the island never to return. The now named Chris says. Naruto smiles, hearing this. That sounds like it will be a lot of fun, he says excitedly, to which Kuro sweatdrops, already knowing what kinds of things the campers of the TTM world will have to go through. Chris walks over to the campfire pit and continues his speech. Their fate will be decided here at a dramatic campfire ceremony. All but one of the campers will receive a marshmallow, and the one who doesn't will be the one who goes home. In the end, only one will remain and will be rewarded with cheesy tabloid fame. Chris pulls out a case and opens it, revealing a bunch of money along with a small fortune of $100,000, which they will likely burn through in a week. Chris closes the case. To survive they will have to battle flies, grizzly bears, disgusting camp food, each other, and me, making their lives a living hell, he says, smiling sadistically. Every moment will be caught on hundreds of cameras placed all around the island. Who will crumble under pressure? Will any relationships between campers form? And who will ultimately win it all? Find out here at this moment on Total Drama Island. Naruto's smile lessens, hearing this, as he gets a feeling that the host wasn't exaggerating, that he will be making the contestants a living hell. The group then watches what appears to be an intro to the show that shows some of the contestants doing various things while a theme song plays. Welcome back to Total Drama Island. It's time to meet our first 12 campers. We told them they were staying at a 5-star resort, so if they seem a little pissed off, that's probably why, Chris says with a smile. The sound of a motorboat was soon heard. The first of the contestants to arrive was Beth. She was slightly on the pudgy side with chestnut brown hair done in a high ponytail. She wore a green and gold shirt festooned with a variety of pin-on buttons and pale pink slacks. Beth wore Coke bottle glasses and braces. "Beth, what's up?" Chris greeted the perky girl. "It's so encouraged to meet you. Wow, you look shorter in real life." Beth's manner was as awkward as her body, which pissed Chris a little due to him hating it when people pointed out his height. Some of the group chuckled seeing the girl's awkwardness. "She seems pretty nice," Chowji said while munching on a bag of chips. Thanks," Chris dryly remarked. The next person to arrive was DJ. A bit on the tall side, wearing a white cap, brown shirt and black shorts, showed up. Without a doubt his stature made him look very athletic. Ino blushes seeing DJ. "Wow, look at his muscles," she says, admiring the athletic boy's figure. "DJ." Chris greeted the second of the contestants. "Yo. Chris McLean, how's it going? Hey, you sure this is the right place here? Where is the hot tub at?" he asked, looking around. He read somewhere in the contract about a hot tub. "Yo, dog. This is Camp Wawanaka." Chris redirected the topic and pointed out to the direction of where the campsite was. "HMPH. Looked a lot different in the application form," DJ says. The next camper was Gwen. Her short hair was dyed pitch black and highlighted in teal. Her cool colored outfit consisted of a sleeved corset top that arranged her mid-C cup breasts to their best advantage. A short skirt with a patchwork look. Forest green hose. And black knee-high platform boots. Her pasty complexion was not the artificial chalky white of hardcore goth. Naruto blushes a little upon seeing Gwen, as he had to admit she was very beautiful in her own unique way. Kakashi seeing this chuckles. "What's the matter, Naruto? You like what you are seeing?" he teases, causing Naruto to blush even more and the group to chuckle. "Hey Gwen." Chris greets. Gwen looks around. "You mean we're here?" she asked, wondering if the trailer off in the near distance would fit a handful of people, let alone all the contestants. Chris laughs. "No, you're staying here," he says, gesturing to the old log cabins. "The trailer is mine and comes with AC," he says, pointing out said trailer. Gwen scowls. "I did not sign up for this," she says. Chris smiles. "Actually you did, it's right here in the contract," he says, holding up a contract before Gwen grabs it and tears it up. "Funny thing about lawyers, they always have many copies." "I'm not staying here," she says stubbornly. "Well, I hope you're a good swimmer because your boat just left," he says, getting her attention before she sighs and joins the other contestants. The group sweat drops seeing this. "Is it just me or does that Chris guy give off the vibe of a sadist?" Kiba asks, getting nods from several of the group as they agree with him. The fourth contestant to arrive was Jeff, a cowboy type who wore sandals, jeans, a pink silk button-down shirt and a 10-gallon hat. "Chris McLean. What's up, man? It's an honor to meet you, man," the party boy greeted the host. The Jeff stir. "Welcome to the island, man," Chris greeted. "Hey, thanks, man," Jeff says in response. Gwen looks at the two and says, "If they say man one more time I am going to puke." Sakura deadpans hearing this. "I have to agree with Gwen on that," she says, getting tired of the host and party boy going back and forth. The next boat drove up. "Everyone, this is Lindsay," Chris says as a blonde stepped off the boat. She sported a warm colors ensemble consisting of stylized cowboy boots, a halter top that strained a little against her D-cup breasts, a baby blue bandana kept her hair out of her face, her skin was fair and flawless, and her face was made up subtly and skillfully. More than a few of the males of the group blush upon seeing Lindsay, which results in a few eye twitches from some of the females of the group. Jiraiya giggled perversely while writing in his notepad upon seeing Lindsay, only to stop when he received a ticket to Dreamland courtesy of one of Tsunade's punches. Naruto was once again blushing, but this time nearly his entire face was red. Tiba Wolf whistles upon seeing Lindsay. She is like a much hotter version of Ino. He yells excitedly right before Ino knocks him out with a punch to the back of the head. "Not too shabby," Chris chuckles, getting a look at her. "Hey, you look familiar," Lindsay says seeing Chris. Chris just deadpans. "I'm Chris McLean, the host of the show," he says. Lindsay smiles. "Oh, that's where I know you from," she replied sheepishly, while thinking, "Yes, my plan to act stupid is working so far." The group raises a collective eyebrow in thought upon hearing this, as they wonder why she would want to hide her intelligence. The next contestant to arrive was Heather. A tall model, thin, drop-dead gorgeous girl stepped ashore. Her waist-length jet black glossy hair was unbound. She wore a maroon top that was little more than a sports bra that strained against her high C-cup breasts, barely legal shorts, and a pair of open-toed spike heel shoes. She removed her sunglasses with a glare that could scare almost everyone as she took in her surroundings. She had an aura of snootiness around her and so self-absorbed forgoes introducing herself. Beth tries to talk to her but is just ignored. Anko frowns seeing this. "Well, looks like you stereotypical stuck-up bitch," she says after seeing how Heather acted. The next boat arrives with a punk-type teen with a wiry build. He wore a black t-shirt emblazoned with a large skull design over a long-sleeved yellow undershirt. His dark green hair was stylized in a mohawk and his face had a few piercings which detailed him as a punk instead of a goth. Sakura blushes a little upon seeing Duncan as she had to admit his bad boy look was kind of attractive and reminded her a little of her crush Sasuke. "Duncan, dude welcome," Chris said. Duncan looks to Chris. He told Chris, ominously pounding his fist into his palm before standing with the rest of the group. Chris smiles. "Yeah, your parole officer told me that. He also said to give him a holler anytime and have you return to juvie." Duncan just scoffs before turning to Heather and tries to flirt with her, only to get shot down. "Ladies and gentlemen," Tyler, Chris says as another boat pulls up. Skiing behind the boat is a teen wearing a red jumpsuit and white sneakers. The boat turns when it reaches the dock and throws out his luggage before cutting the tow rope, causing him to flip across the water and crash into the dock, causing everyone to wince. The group also winces seeing the teen wipe out. "Ooh, that's got to hurt," Tenton says after seeing the teen crash. Tyler gets up and introduces himself before standing with the rest of the group as another boat approaches. On the boat is a teen wearing thick glasses. Below his lip are a few wisps of hair, presumably meant to be a soul patch, and on his was a crop of brick red hair. Chris laughs and the kid sighs. "Welcome Harold," he says before the kid goes on about how his skills are more favorable here and takes his place with the others. The group deadpans at Harold's arrival. Nerd Kiba says, faking a cough, getting a few chuckles from the group. Next to arrive was a teen wearing casual clothes consisting of a green shirt with a black handprint emblazoned on it and brown pants. In lieu of luggage he had a large backpack and carried what looked like an acoustic guitar case. "Trent welcome," Chris greets before they start talking about Trent seeing him on a figure skating show before he stands next to Gwen and smiles at her, which she just ignores. Asuma chuckles seeing Trent get ignored by Gwen. "Shot down," he says, getting a chuckle from the other males of the group. Another boat arrived carrying a tall and willowy girl who had that girl next door vibe. She wore her long naturally blonde hair in a low ponytail that was more functional than fashionable. And she wore no makeup. She was dressed simply in a sky blue hoodie, shorts and sandals, and she carried a red and gold surfboard. "Hey, what's up?" the girl said. "Alright, our surfer chick, Bridget, is here," Chris says before a few of the campers make fun of her for having a surfboard when there are no waves on a lake, to which she just says she was told there was a beach, before walking to the rest of the group and nearly hitting a few of them with her board as she turns to pick up her luggage. Kiba's eyes widen upon seeing Bridget. "Wow, she is also like a hotter version of," he begins to say before wisely shutting up when he senses Ino glaring at him with a look that says, "Say it and you're dead." The next boat shows up with a teen who looks like a bookworm, causing Chris to sigh. "Our next camper is Noah," he says as the now named Noah walks onto the dock. Noah looks to Chris. "Did you get the memo about my allergies?" he says lazily. Naruto laughs seeing this. "Wow, he is just like you, Shikamaru," he says in between laughter, causing the group to laugh at the similarities between the two boys. Shikamaru just sighs hearing this and responds with troublesome blonde before Ino smacks the back of his head, getting even more laughter from the group. Chris just sighs. "I'm sure it's around here somewhere," he says as Noah walks over to the rest of the campers and makes fun of Duncan's piercings before Duncan picks him up and threatens him before tossing him to the others. The next boat arrives carrying a dark-skinned teen wearing a brown shirt and jeans that hugged her hips. She had gold hoop earrings and her black hair was pulled up into a ponytail. "What's up y'all, Lashawna's in the house," she yells as she gets off the boat. Lashawna sees DJ. "What's up brother, give me some skin," she says as she high-fives him before looking to Harold, who is looking at her with wide eyes before he says something about her being big and loud, which causes her to nearly throttle him, but DJ and Bridget hold her back. Bakasi chuckles seeing this. "Well, she sure is feisty," he says with an eye smile, getting a chuckle from the group. Chris chuckles. "Alright everyone, settle down." He then turns to see another boat docked. "Ladies Katie and Sadie, welcome to the island," he says. Two girls come running off the boat wearing matching pink and white strip tops and pants and let out a high-pitched squeal, causing many of the campers to cover their ears. The tanned and skinnier of the two looks to her friend. "Oh my gosh, look Sadie, it's a summer camp," she says. The now named Sadie turns to the other girl. "I know Katie, I always wanted to go to summer camp," she says before they both let out another squeal. The group winces hearing this before Anko curses. "Damn, those two are nearly as loud as Pinky and Ponytail," she says, causing Sakura and Ino to glare at the dangle-loving Kunoichi. The next boat arrives carrying a teen who has an unsophisticated rustic look. He is wearing work boots, jeans, a heavy greenish hoodie, and a beanie over his brown hair that was styled into a mullet. Chris looks to the teen. "Ezekiel, what's up man," he says. Ezekiel looks to the sky. "I think I saw a bird," he says, getting laughs from many. Chris just sighs. "Ezekiel, I know you don't get out much, you've been homeschooled your whole life, you've been raised by freaky prairie people, just don't say much and try not to get kicked off too early," he says as Ezekiel walks to the rest of the group. Narita just stares blankly at Ezekiel. "Wow, and I thought the team lacked social skills," he says, referencing Sasuke and his lack of social skills. Hearing this causes more than a few of the group to chuckle at how right his observation is. On the next boat a somewhat short teen strutted off the gangplank like he owned the world. He had short brown hair with long bangs that nearly blocked his green eyes, however his most noticeable feature was the spitting gap in his two front teeth. This was Cody, the troop science geek. He projected an aura of coolness, or at least what he thought coolness to be. Dibba once more, says nerd while pretending to cough, getting a chuckle from the group. Chris looks to Cody. Cody, the code stir, the code meister, he says. Cody smiles. Dude, I'm excited to be here, I see all the ladies have already arrived. Nice. He says. The Shauna scoffs. Save it short stuff, she says, calming him down as the next boat arrives. Eva, nice, glad to see you could make it, Chris says as the next contestant arrives and drops a bag of weights on Cody's foot. She looked like an athlete. A bit well built to the point her bulging biceps were a bit of a put-off. She had a classic Hercules figure, with legs that were shapely despite being hard as iron, and she even had a beauty mark on her lip but didn't seem that concerned by her appearance. Tsunade smiles, seeing Eva. Now there is a girl that works out, she says, impressed by how toned Eva's body is, something that could only be obtained by rigorous training or working out. What's in these weights, Cody yells. Yes, she replies before picking them up and heading over to the rest of the group. The next person to arrive was easily the largest. He was overweight and wore brown shorts and a white shirt. Wahoo, Chris, what's happening, he yells. This is awesome, Wahoo, as he barreled down the deck before tripping and hitting his head. Chris laughs. Owen, welcome. Owen gets up. Awesome to be here, man. Yeah. This is just so, he rambles before Gwen guesses what he is about to say. Awesome? Owen turns to her. Yeah. The group just stares at Owen for a moment before Kiba starts laughing. Oh god, he is just like Naruto. He yells, causing the majority of the group to either laugh along with him or chuckle. Naruto fumes hearing this. Oh, shut up, mutt. He yells, not liking that they are laughing at Owen and himself for being hyper and super excited. After a few minutes of laughter, everyone calms down and begins watching again. Chris looks to see the next boat. Here comes Courtney, he says. The next boat arrives and drops off a tan-skinned girl with brown hair. She wore a short light gray sweater over a more expensive off-white blouse and a pair of calf-length olive green pants, and she also wore a pair of high-heeled sandals. Thank you, she said as she joined the other contestants and began engaging in polite introductions with a few of them. Kurama smiles when she sees Courtney, since she can see that the girl has her priorities in place from the way she carries herself. She and many of the others then turn to see what looks like a model walk down the ramp as Chris says, Justin, welcome, just to let you know we chose you entirely by your looks, he says to the now named Justin. Justin had a decent amount of muscle that could be seen under his tight t-shirt. He also wore old nondescript jeans and sneakers, but none of the girls those until later. His short hair was straight and raven black, his skin was flawless bronze, his teeth spotless white, and his eyes were sapphire blue. All of the genin girls except for Hinata sport full blushes upon seeing Justin's appearance. The boys growl seeing this. Damn pretty boys, Naruto says, getting nods from the majority of the other boys. However, he does notice Hinata not blushing after seeing Justin, which makes him think that maybe she doesn't find the model hot. He thinks about how he has actually never seen her blush around anyone other than himself and wonders why that is. Unknown to himself at the time, Naruto had taken the first step towards realizing that Hinata had romantic feelings for him. Justin looks to Chris. Thanks, Chris, this is great, he says before walking over to the others and talking with Owen, who ends up embarrassing himself while complimenting his pants. Chris turns to see the last boat pulling up. Here comes Izzy. The last boat pulls up and out walks a girl with somewhat curly scotch orange red hair and green eyes, who was waving excitedly. She wore a green halter top with a collar and a cleavage window. She was the only girl with a long skirt that almost reached her knees. It covered most of her thighs on the outside, but barely on the inside, and was knotted on one side, causing it to hang low, only partially cover her bikini-like panties, and all in all, it looked like the new girl Izzy was wearing a yellow-green towel around her hips. Naruto's eyes sparkle upon seeing Izzy. Whoa, she has orange hair. He yells out excitedly at seeing a girl have his favorite color for a hair color. The group just sweat drops after hearing this, as it would be just like Naruto to get excited about a girl having orange hair. When the boat docked, Izzy rushed down the gangplank but caught her toe, flinging her forward, but she recovered by flipping in the air, only to smash her chin on the deck, causing everyone to wince. The group winces along with the campers after seeing Izzy's wipeout. I hope she is okay, Naruto says, worried about the orange-haired girl after that hit. Izzy recovers and gets up, looking around. So this is summer camp. That is so cool. Do you paper match here, and are we having lunch soon? She asks Owen, agreeing with her. Chris turns to look out on the water and smiles, and here comes our final contestant, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the shinobi and author, he says, causing everyone to look out at the lake and see what appears to be a person running across the top of the lake. The group's eyes widen upon seeing this. Looks like I am about to make my appearance, Naruto says excitedly, wanting to see what that version of him looks like. The rest of the group has to agree with him, while raising an eyebrow at hearing that apparently the version of Naruto they are watching is an author. As the person got closer they saw what looked like a large dragon made of water rise up from the lake, and the person jump on it back as it rose into the air rolling and flipping before it was right above them, and the person jumped off its back landing at the edge of the dock, and the dragon crashed back into the water behind him. The group stands there in silence after witnessing Naruto's entrance only to break out in cheers. Anko walks up to Naruto and picks him up before twirling him around. Gaki, that entrance was awesome. She yells, still spinning the poor blonde around while unknowingly suffocating him with her breasts. Swan seeing this chuckles, Anko, put the poor kid down before you kill him with your chest, she says, causing Anko to realize what she was doing and put him down. Naruto stumbles for a bit as he regains his breath. I swear I saw heaven, there was ramen as far as I could see, he says, causing the group to sweat drop. Swan chuckles, I have to admit though his entrance was a million times better than any of Jiraiya or Kakashi entrances, she says, causing both males to fall to their knees, with a cloud of depression above them. Everyone had their jaws on the ground after what they just saw as the team just walked up to them and waved yo, he says causally. The group sweet reaps at the very Kakashi-like greeting that Naruto gave while Kakashi smiles proudly. He has blonde spiky hair, blue eyes, and what appear to be 3 whisker-like marks on each cheek. He is wearing what looks to be some kind of forehead protector with a strange leaf symbol on it, a tight black shirt that hugs his chest showcasing his muscles and six-pack abs, crimson red pants, black combat boots, and a white trench coat with red flames at the bottom that goes down to his mid-calf. On the back of the coat is the yin-yang symbol with what look like 9 animals surrounding it, each with one more tail than the last. Some of the females of the group blush at seeing how handsome this version of Naruto is. However, many of the adults also seeing the 9 biju that are represented on his jacket along with the yin-yang symbol and wonder what the story behind them is. Naruto smiles seeing their faces. My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Shinobi and author, nice to meet you. Everyone recovers from their shock and Cody is the first to respond, dude that was awesome, how did you do that, he says, getting nods from many of the others. Naruto chuckles, thanks, it was just one of my many abilities that come with being a shinobi, he says, however I won't be able to use many, if any of them, otherwise it wouldn't be fate to all of you, isn't that right Chris, he says, turning to Chris who nods. Naruto smiles and reaches into his trench coat and pulls out a book before tossing it to Chris. Here you go Chris, the next volume a few months before it hits shelves, he says, causing Chris's eyes to light up. Gwen raises an eyebrow, what book is that? She asks Naruto. Naruto smiles, it's the book series created by my godfather before he passed away, Icha. I only take the books he wrote and publish them in his name to honor his memory, he says, getting wide eyes from everyone. The group's eyes widen after hearing this info and Kurenai along with Tsunade glare a little at hearing Naruto publishing that smut. However, they along with everyone else also stare at Jiraiya, who is in a state of shock at hearing that in that world he is dead. Naruto smiles, I also published his other book, The Tale of the Gutsy Shinobi, whose main character I was named after, he says, shocking everyone some more. However, I also publish my own stories that I wrote myself, such as The Fox and the Moon-Eyed Princess, The Fox and the Snake Queen, The Fox and the Queen of Cool, and finally The Fox and the Legendary Medic, he says, shocking everyone. The group's eyes widen hearing this, and a few of them wonder what the titles of those books could mean. Meanwhile, Tsunade along with Anko are in a state of shock as they try to think of why their monikers would be used in the title for the books. They had a suspicion as to why they would be and could tell that Hinata was the Moon-Eyed Princess, however they had no idea who this Queen of Cool could be. Gwen nearly faints hearing that he is the author of her favorite book series before walking up to him and holding up a pen and paper. Could I get your autograph? I love your books, my favorites are The Fox and the Moon-Eyed Princess, along with The Fox and the Snake Queen, she says. Anko puff out her chest in pride hearing that the book that is likely about her is one of the Gwen's favorites. Naruto smiles causing her to blush slightly, of course always happy to meet someone who enjoys my books, he says, giving her his autograph before looking to the others. Is there anyone else who would like my autograph before we get started, he asks as a few of the campers come up, including Lindsay, Bridget, Izzy, Courtney, and surprisingly Heather. Chris finishes looking at the book in his hands and giggling and turns to the campers. All right, now that we're all here, let's be on our way, he says before showing them around the camp, showing them the campfire pit, outhouses, confessional stalls, communal shower, their cabins, and finally the mess hall where they all go to get some food. Each of the campers goes up and gets their food, if you could call it that, and meeting Chef. Naruto walks up and gets his food and smiles at Chef. Thanks Chef, it looks good, he says before reaching into his trench coat and pulling out 2 books here, the newest book a few months before its release, along with a copy of The Tale of the Gutsy Shinobi. I can tell by the look in your eyes you will like it, he says, surprising Chef, who takes the books and mutters something about finally someone respecting his cooking. After sitting down, Naruto digs into his food, surprising everyone who just stare at him, which he notices. What chef worked hard to make this food for all of us, and I don't like wasting food, especially when there are so many people out there who are starving, he says, shocking everyone before they realize the truth behind his words and begin eating their own food. Doji smiles seeing this as he agrees with what that version of Naruto said, and it is one of his clan's rules to never waste food. A little while later, Chris walks in and tells everyone to meet by the flagpole, and after everyone is gathered, he smiles. Okay everyone, due to having an odd number of contestants, we will be having an elimination challenge right now, before I split you up into teams and we go on with today's challenge, he says. Many of the campers are shocked while a few, including Naruto, just smiles and thinks let the fun begin. The scene vanishes and the room reverts back to its normal look as Kuro smiles. Well, that is the first chapter scene. Now before we continue, I have two guests to bring in, he says before snapping his fingers, and two lights appear before the group, blinding them. As the light fades and the group regains their eyesight, they are shocked at who is standing before them. End chapter 3. As the two lights died down, the group stared in shock at the two new figures, who were none other than Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, Naruto's parents. Kuro cleared his throat, getting the group's attention. I present to all of you Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze, he says with a smile. The group stood there in shock for a moment before Naruto rockets forward and embraces Kushina in a hug, which she reciprocates. Naruto buries his face into his mother's abdomen as tears of joy trail down his cheeks. I have wanted to meet you for so long, Ka-chan, he says in between sobs. Kushina simply continues to hold her son again after so long, with tears leaking from her own eyes. I have missed you so much, Naru-chan. Look at how big you have gotten, she says lovingly while stroking his hair. After a few moments, the reunited mother and son finally release each other and Kushina wipes the tears from Naruto's cheeks. Naruto then looks to the side to see his father Minato standing there with a smile. Minato spreads his arms expecting a hug from Naruto. Hey Naruto, does your old man get a hug, he asks with smile. Naruto lowers his head, causing his hair to shadow his eyes before walking over to Minato. As he reaches Minato, he raises his arms like he is about to give him a hug, only to deliver a brutal double palm strike to Minato's abdomen, causing him to fall to his knees in pain. Naruto glares down at his father. Did you really think I would simply embrace you after the hell I have had to live through due to your decision to seal Kurama and me? He snarls. Minato clutches his stomach in pain for a moment before he gets up and sighs. No, I honestly didn't, especially after I saw your life so far, he says, shocking everyone. Kushina nods her head hearing this. That's right, we have seen your life so far, Naruto, she says before hugging him again. I am so sorry you have had to live like you have had. I never wanted you to carry the burden of being a Jinchuriki, she says. Before Naruto can't say anything, they are interrupted by Kuro clearing his throat. Sorry to interrupt, but I think it would be best if we took a break for the night so that Naruto and his parents can get reunited and everyone can rest up, he says, getting nods from the others. Kuro then snaps his fingers, making doors appear that lead to bedrooms, and everyone picks one with Naruto and his parents, sharing one, and go inside for some rest. The next morning, everyone walks out of their rooms and rejoins Kuro, who is standing by the pedestal eating a sandwich. Kuro sees the group returning and finishes his sandwich before looking to the group. Is everybody well rested and ready to continue? He asks, getting nods from the group. Kuro then looks over to Minato, who looks like he went through a meat grinder. Kuro raises an eyebrow seeing this. Geez Minato, what the hell happened to you? He asks. Minato is about to say something only for Kushina to cut him off. We had a discussion last night regarding his choice to seal Kurama into Naruto and the consequences of said choice. Oh, and Jiraiya, that reminds me that you are also in for a similar discussion regarding why you haven't been upholding your duties as Naruto's godfather, she explains with a sickly sweet smile that sends shivers down most of the group's spines and causes Jiraiya to pale. Kuro just coughs into his fist after hearing this. Well, how about we continue on with the next scene for the total drama Maelstrom world now? Oh, before I forget, Kushina, did you and Minato watch the tapes of what we have already covered so far in this world and the previous one? He asks. Kushina nods hearing this. Yes, and they were really exciting and interesting. I do have a question though. If the Naruto verse is split up into various sectors in which other gods like you record the events of, does that mean there might be a possibility that we could view a world from one of their sectors? She asks in wonder. Hearing her question, Kuro just rubs the back of his neck sheepishly. Yes, there is a chance that we could do such a thing. However, it is a very complicated and lengthy process, as I first need to get in contact with the sector's resident god, wait for said god to get back to me, and then discuss the details regarding you, allow you all to view his world. In the end, it is a very lengthy process and likely won't happen for quite some time, but there is a very good chance it could happen. Now, without further delay, let's continue where we left off, he says, explaining the situation regarding Kushina's question and snapping his fingers, making the room change to the scene they left off on. However, before Kuro starts the scene, he notices a somewhat tired look in Naruto's eyes. "Hey Naruto, what's wrong, you look really tired?" he asks. Naruto stifles a yawn before answering, "I had this really weird dream last night that seemed almost real," he responds, causing the group to look at him. Kuro rubs his chin in thought, having an idea of what might be the cause of Naruto's dream. "What was the dream about, if you don't mind me asking?" he says. Naruto rubs the back of his neck sheepishly. "Well, I dreamt I lived on an island full of warriors that fought against dragons. However, from what I can tell, I didn't believe in fighting the dragons and even befriended one and rides it," he explains, getting wide-eyed looks from the group. Kuro nods his head, hearing this. "Well, it would seem you somehow dreamt of another version of yourself," he says with a chuckle. The group's eyes widen hearing this before Kiba voices his thoughts. "Wait, there is a version of Naruto that not only befriends a dragon, but also rides it," he yells with a slight hint of jealousy. Kuro nods his head. "Yeah, there are actually a few worlds in the Naruto-verse like that. However, the world that he dreamt about is in my sector, but yet to fully form, which is why it isn't ready to be viewed yet. Anyway, let's continue where we left off," he says before snapping his fingers, continuing the events they are watching. "What?" That was the collective response of everyone except Naruto after hearing what Chris had just told them. The group cringes at the loud yell, and Kiba holds his ears in pain. "Damn, that was loud," he yells, getting nods from the others. However, unknown to the group, Kuro chuckles quietly while holding a remote behind his back. "But we just got here," Beth says, getting nods from a few of the campers. Chris smiles. "Too bad," he says, sing-song. "Now our first challenge will be," he pulls out a medium-sized black ball that has some kind of timer on it, paint bomb tag. "The rules are simple. The one with the ball is it. He tosses the ball up and down a few times. There are no tag backs. The new it will have to freeze for 10 seconds after being tagged, and there are no safe zones," Chris says with a smile. "As you can see, the ball has a timer which is set to a time limit of 1 hour. And when the timer runs out, the ball will explode and person holding it will be covered in paint that won't come off for a week, and the loser will leave on the dock of shame with no shower," he finishes explaining. Ino pales hearing this. "He is joking, right?" she asks fearfully at the thought of being covered in paint that won't come off for a week. Kuro chuckles upon hearing the fashion-obsessed girl's question. "Nope, he is dead serious," he answers, causing Ino to visibly pale and her eyes widen in horror. "No shower," Lindsay gulps. "It would be humiliating to go out like that, even more so on the first day." Chris wiggles his eyebrows. "So anyone want to be it?" he asks, getting no answer. Naruto smiles. "Sure, I'll be it," he says, get shocked looks from everyone. Chris tosses Naruto the ball. "Okay, the game begins now," he says as everyone takes off running to get away from Naruto as the timer begins to tick. Naruto just stands there, causing Chris to stare at him. "You know that you can go now, right?" Naruto laughs. "Yeah, but I thought I would give them some time to hide. It makes the hunt so much more fun, don't you think?" he says, getting a nod from Chris. The group continues to watch the scene before them when they hear a sinister chuckle. "Kukuku, let the hunt begin," Naruto says in a creepy voice complete with a sinister smile while rubbing his hands together like an evil genius. The majority of the adults of the group pale seeing this, since it is the exact same face he makes when thinking of a new prank. However, off to the side, Anko licks her lips while discreetly rubbing her thighs together to hide her growing arousal after seeing the display. Timer. 55 minutes left. Naruto had started searching for the campers. "Can't wait to see someone get blasted in paint," he says before walking toward the boathouse since it was close and someone might be in there. Tyler. The jock had emptied a crate and was currently hiding in it. "This game is mine," he says before chuckling, only to stop when the lid to the crate he is in opens and he sees a smiling Naruto holding the bomb. A few moments of silence pass. "How did you find me?" Tyler asks. "Well, the boathouse is close to the starting point, so I decided to check there first, and I heard you laughing," he says before tagging Tyler and leaving. The group sweat drops seeing this. "Does anyone else think that Tyler but not be the most intelligent of people?" Tenten asks, getting nods from the others. Gwen was currently hiding in some bushes watching Lindsay run around in a circle, looking for somewhere to hide, thinking, "I wonder if I should tell her that she is just running around in a circle," before she decides to wait and see to a little while. Joji raises an eyebrow seeing this. "Wait, why are we suddenly seeing what Gwen is doing?" he asks in confusion. Kuro chuckles a little. "Well, sometimes the POV will change to show what the other people in each specific world are doing," he explains, getting a nod of understanding from Choji, who goes back to eating his bag of chips. Harold was currently hiding in the bathrooms using one of the stalls when he hears the door open and suddenly the stall door he is in flies open, causing him to scream in a high-pitched voice, only to reveal Cody. Naruto burst out in laughter at hearing Harold scream. "Oh god," he screamed like a little girl. He yells, getting chuckles or outright laughter from the rest of the group. "Dude, calm down, I'm not it, just looking for a place to hide," Cody say while sweat dropping. "Go find your own place, I was here first," Harold says, glaring at Cody. "Dude, chill, I'll just take one of the other stalls," Cody says before closing the door and hiding in one of the other stalls. Timer 50 minutes left. Tyler was panicking. He hadn't been able to find anyone and was currently rushing towards the cabins to see if anyone was hiding there when he trips on the steps, smashing his face into the porch before rolling through the door and coming to a stop as he hit something hard. The group winces seeing Tyler once again injure himself due to his own clumsiness. Seriously, how clumsy is this guy? Anko asks in a deadpan voice while munching on some dango that appeared. Her eyes suddenly widening as the dango is the best she has ever had. Kuro sees this and chuckles before whispering in her ear, "In case you were wondering, I got those from one of my worlds, and the Naruto of that world was the one who made them," he states. After hearing this, Anko looks at the Naruto standing by his parents and makes a vow to see if he can make dango this good. If he can, well, the snake might just chase the fox and sort out various feelings for said fox. Meanwhile, Naruto suddenly feels a chill run up his spine, as if he was going to be hunted in the future. "Dude, you okay?" DJ asks, having been the one Tyler ran into. Yeah," the clumsy jock says before getting up and tagging DJ and running off as he just stands there frozen as what had just happened. "Well shit," DJ says as he realizes what just happened before going to find someone to tag. "Izzy." Izzy was humming while sitting on a branch, swinging her legs as she scanned the ground when she notices a certain whiskered blonde walk up a tree next to her and sit on a branch. Izzy grins before grabbing a vine and swinging to the tree Naruto is in, landing in his lap. "Ha. Izzy giggles. "Oh hey Izzy, right?" The crazy girl nods as Naruto grins. "What's up?" Izzy stares at him, causing him to raise an eyebrow before she asks, "Are your whisker marks a tattoo or scar?" Naruto smiles. "Neither, they're birthmarks," he begins before Izzy cuts him off when she starts rubbing them, causing him to do something that makes her very happy. "You just," Naruto gently swats her hand away as he blushes slightly. "I didn't purr," he yells before purring again as Izzy rubs them again before they begin a little tug of war with Izzy trying to rub them and Naruto trying to stop her. The group stands there in shock at what they just witnessed before turning to look at Naruto, who pales upon seeing the look in the eyes of the females of the group. He tries to make a break for it, only to find a golden chain wrapped around him holding him in place. "Hey, let me go," he yells frantically while trying to get free. Kushina, who is the one the chain came from, chuckles a little. "Why, Naru-chan, is there something you are trying to hide from us?" she asks while she and the other females begin to close in around the struggling blonde. Kushina then reaches out and rubs Naruto's whisker marks, causing him to purr much like his counterpart they were watching getting a squeal from all the girls, who then take turns rubbing his cheeks. For the next few minutes the girls take turns rubbing Naruto's cheeks and listening to him purr as many of the males watch on in laughter. Kuro, seeing this, chuckles to himself until he says Ino about to scratch his whisker marks instead of rubbing them. "No, wait," he yells, trying to stop her only for it to be too late as Naruto's eyes widen before glazing over. Naruto then leaps towards the nearest person, who just so happened to be Hinata, after Ino backed away. He wraps his arms and legs around her and buries his head into her chest and begins rubbing up against it while purring. This sudden action causes Hinata's entire body to blush atomic red, but she somehow manages to stop herself from fainting. The group looks on in shock at what they are seeing. "What the hell is Naruto doing?" Sakura yells and is about to hit said blonde only for Kuro to stop her, getting everyone's attention. Kuro sighs. Naruto has entered what is known as bliss mode, a special state that happens to him when somebody scratches his whisker marks. In this state he will latch onto the nearest female and cuddle up against them for a while before switching to another female. The only way to stop this is to just let it run its course, as he will eventually return to normal, he explains, shocking the group. Kuro then chuckles a little. "You should be thankful that he only entered bliss mode and not LGM," he says mysteriously. Kurenai raises a delicate brow hearing this. "What is LGM?" she asks in curiosity. Kuro grins hearing this. It stands for Lust God Mode. In this mode he is essentially lust personified, and any female near him wants him or is faints from his sheer sexiness. Meanwhile, males that witness it will most likely begin to question their sexuality, he says, shocking the group, while many of the females actually blush trying to picture it before the group goes back to watching the world. "Duncan." The punk scowled. Somehow DJ had found his hiding spot and had tagged him, leaving him with a bomb, and was scanning the area when he spots something that makes him smile and runs over and tags the person before running off. Bonful Noah sighs as Duncan runs off after tagging him and notices there is only about 15 minutes left on the timer before the bomb explodes. Before he starts wandering around thinking that if he waits until the last minute before handing it off due to them having to freeze, he would get away and they would be out, and continues walking as a plan forms in his mind. After seeing Noah's lack of energy, Choji chuckles. "Wow, he is a lot like you, Shikamaru," he says, poking fun at his best friend, getting a few chuckles from the group while Shikamaru mutters troublesome in response. Time left 15 minutes. Cody and Trent. The duo was hiding under a table in the arts and crafts building discussing their favorite types of music. "Heather." The queen bee was sitting on a sink in the communal washroom filing her nails without any worries because she had locked the door to the washroom. Who would be a good possible candidate for an alliance, she says as she begins thinking about who would be good for an alliance. Hey, let me in. She hears someone say from the other side of the door before she resumes her filing. Anko seeing this scoffs, "Yep, she is your stereotypical stuck-up bitch," she remarks only to yelp when Naruto finally releases a very embarrassed hinata and latches onto her, rubbing his head into her chest. Anko suppresses a moan as his hair brushes against her, which are hidden by her trench coat. "Oh Heather blinks, I'm it now, aren't I?" Outside, Noah had just agged Owen before patting his back. "If it helps, I saw some campers by the cafeteria," he says, feeling a little bad for Owen since he seems like a nice guy. Brigitte, Eva, Courtney, Ezekiel. The girls growl at Ezekiel as Eva grabs his neck. "What did you just say?" she growls out. The reason why the girls are so angry is due to Ezekiel making one of the biggest mistakes a male can possibly do, make a sexist comment about a woman, and to make matters worse, he did it right in front of 3 women. The women of the group narrow their eyes at this. He did what? They yell while leaking killing intent, causing the males except Naruto, who was still cuddling against Anko, to pale and scoot away a little. "I said it, lucky you 3 have me protecting you, since girls are weak, eh?" Eva and the others growl. "My dad told me to watch out for the girls since they need a lot of help, eh?" Courtney joins Eva. "Besides, boys are smarter than girls, so we have to help you," he says before Brigitte opens the door and Eva tosses him out where he landed at Naruto's feet. Hearing what Ezekiel just said causes the girls to leak even more killing intent while cracking their knuckles menacingly. Naruto had managed to escape from Izzy and was walking to the cafeteria when the door opens and someone flies out before landing at his feet. He looks down to see Ezekiel before looking up to see a very pissed off Brigitte, Courtney and Eva, and raises an eyebrow. "He did something stupid, didn't he?" Naruto asks, already having an idea of what Ezekiel may have done. "He made a sexist comment saying women aren't as smart as men and that we need his help because women are weaker than men," Eva says through gritted teeth, getting nods from Courtney and Brigitte. Naruto helps Ezekiel up before reaching behind his back. "Hey Ezekiel, catch," he says, tossing something to him. Ezekiel catches the object before looking at it, noticing it is the bomb, and sees that there is only 10 seconds left on the timer and pales before looking at Naruto. Hiba, who is cowering with the rest of the males, notices this and raises an eyebrow. "Wait, how does Naruto have the bomb when we last saw it in Owen's possession?" he asks, getting shrugs from the group as they continue watching. "Shouldn't have made a sexist comment, man. Women are in fact stronger than men for many reasons, the top one being them going through childbirth," Naruto says, getting looks of shock from the 3 girls. The women of the group are shocked by Naruto's words and look to their Naruto, who is still cuddling against Anko. Anko meanwhile warps her arms around Naruto, pulling him closer to her chest with a smile on her face after hearing his counterpart's words. "Now how about the 4 of us sit back and watch the fireworks," Naruto says, looking at the girls and smiling, which causes Eva and Courtney to blush slightly, while Brigitte blushes so hard she almost looks like a tomato. Ezekiel watches the timer tick down and when it reaches 1 he closes his eyes and the bomb explodes. Naruto and the girls sit back and watch as a huge pillar of paint rises into the air before crashing down. "Damn, I have to hand it to Chris, that was pretty awesome," Naruto says, getting nods from the girls. The group looks on in awe at the massive paint explosion that engulfed Ezekiel before they burst out in laughter. Meanwhile, Naruto has finally released Anko and instead latched onto Tsunade, getting a nosebleed from Jiraiya upon seeing his apprentice's head in between Tsunade's bountiful breasts. Suddenly they hear an air horn challenge over. Everyone gather at the cafeteria, they hear Chris say, and they head back to the cafeteria. After everyone is gathered, Chris smiles and turns to Ezekiel, who is covered in a rainbow of paint. "Well Ezekiel, if only you had kept your mouth shut, you wouldn't be the first one out," he says, getting chuckles from some of the guys, while the girls who had been told of what Ezekiel said smile. "But Chris, I had the ball when the timer ran out. How is Ezekiel out?" Owen asks, curious as to how Ezekiel got coated in paint when he had the ball. Naruto laughs. "Well, that's where I come in," he says, getting everyone's attention. "When I first got the ball and all of you left, I switched it out with an exact copy I made before going to find everyone," he says, shocking everyone. The group gapes, seeing this, as it means that the Naruto they are watching basically tricked everyone. After a moment they get over their shock, as it is a version of Naruto they are watching, so a penchant for pranks is something they should really expect. "Owen, push the button under the timer and hand me what's inside," Naruto says, and Owen does so, causing the ball to open, revealing a scroll which he hands to Naruto. Naruto unrolls the scroll and channels a little chakra into it, causing a poof of smoke, and when it clears it reveals a small stack of books, all with a gold cover and wrapped in plastic, which he hands to Owen. "Congrats Owen, you just won yourself a complete collection of all my books, including the newest one which isn't released yet, all of which are the super limited edition versions which have a gold cover and are all signed by me," Naruto says, causing many to have their jaws drop. Naruto sees this and laughs. Bakashi's lone visible eye widens seeing this as he notices one of the books Owen received was a copy of Icha Icha Tactic, something that not even he has in super limited edition. Chris recovers and clears his throat. Well, Ezekiel, man, time to walk the dock of shame, buddy, he says. Can I at least take a shower first? Ezekiel asks, hoping to at least be able to take one to try and clean off the paint. Nope. Chris says with a smile on his face as Chef comes and picks Ezekiel up before throwing him onto the boat of losers as it leaves the island. Chris then turns to the remaining campers. Okay, now before we begin the next challenge I will be splitting you up into 2 teams, Chris says, getting nods from the campers. Gwen, Naruto, Trent, Heather, Cody, Lindsay, Owen, Lashana, Justin, Izzy, and Noah, you guys are the Screaming Gophers, he says, holding up a flag with a screaming gopher on it as those whose names he called form a group to the right. Now Jeff, Bridget, DJ, Beth, Tyler, Sadie, Katie, Courtney, Duncan, and Eva, you are now the killer base, Chris says, holding up a flag of a killer base. Now go change into your swimsuits and meet me at the top of that cliff over there, Chris says, pointing to a 1,000 feet cliff overlooking the lake, causing many of them to pale before they head to their cabins. The group sees this and Niji raises an eyebrow. Does anyone else get the feeling they are going to have to jump off of that cliff? He asks, getting nods from everyone. Naruto and the boys head into their cabin and look at the bunk beds. I'll take the bottom bunk over there if that's alright with everyone, Naruto says, getting nods as DJ decides to take the bunk above him. As everyone is picking their bunks they hear a scream from the girls' cabin and Naruto rushes over. Naruto opens the cabin door to find the girls standing in a corner. What's wrong? He asks. There is a cockroach over there. Lindsay yells in terror, getting nods from the other girls. Denton facepalms at seeing how the girls reacted to something as insignificant as a little cockroach. It was instances like this that gave girls a bad image as damsels in distress. At this point DJ comes in to see what the matter is and sees the cockroach before letting out a high-pitched scream and jumping on Gwen's bed, breaking it. That was my bed, Gwen sighed, depressed. Don't worry about it, Gwen, I will swap out my bed for yours, Naruto said with a smile. You do that for me, Naruto? Gwen blushed. Of course, Gwen, anything for a beautiful flower such as yourself, Naruto says, causing Gwen to blush even more, something Trent noticed and didn't like. Asuma whistles, seeing this. Damn, who knew the Gaki had game? He says, getting a chuckle from the other males. If you want I can swap with you instead, Trent says, trying to impress Gwen. No thanks, Trent, Naruto said he will do it, Gwen says, still blushing slightly, which causes Trent to glare at Naruto, who only raises an eyebrow at Trent before turning to the cockroach. You know, little guy, it's not safe to come into a room where you might get squished, Naruto says to the cockroach, who looks at him before chirping. Naruto pulls out a cloth and lays it over his palm before lowering his hand to the floor. Now how about you hop on and I take you somewhere safe, he says before the cockroach climbs onto the cloth and nuzzles into his palm and purrs, surprising everyone. Naruto stands up and brings the cockroach outside before setting it down in the bushes and walking back inside the cabin to find everyone staring at him like he has grown a second head. What? He asks, curious as to why everyone is staring at him like that. How did you do that and why didn't you just kill it? Bridget asks, getting nods from the others in the room. I have always had this connection with animals, doesn't matter what kind, even bugs, and as to why I didn't kill it, that's simple, Naruto says with a smile. It didn't come in here trying to hurt anyone and all life is precious, even though something as small as a bug, and the only time it is okay to kill an animal is if you intend to eat it, he says, getting a smile and slight blush from Bridget due to his belief being similar to her own. Hidden behind his glasses and coat, Shino is smiling at seeing Naruto's actions regarding the cockroach. It really meant a lot to Shino, whose clan has a symbiotic relationship with bugs, that Naruto didn't just kill the cockroach. Naruto turns to leave and sees Duncan coming with an axe and raises an eyebrow. Dude, it's taken care of, and an axe is a little overkill, he says, causing Duncan to shrug before walking back to the boys' cabin. 20 minutes later. The two teams stand at the top of the cliff in their swimsuits, and Chris smiles now that both teams are here. He begins only to notice Naruto missing. Wait, where is Naruto, he asks, causing everyone to look around. Sorry I'm late, Chris, I was swapping out my bed for Gwen's, who's got broke, Naruto says as he walks up in his swimsuit, causing many of the girls to blush and a few to even drool at seeing his physique. Naruto is wearing a pair of black swim trunks with orange flames at the bottom, and on his right short leg there is a picture of a nine-tailed fox like the one on the back of his trench coat. The girls stare at his six-pack abs and chiseled chest, his thin but muscled arms. On his chest he has a tattoo of a purple snake coiled with its tongue out and a full moon with hints of lavender in it. On his left bicep he has a tattoo of an ice cube with a small crown on it, and on his right bicep he has tattoo of white slug with a blue line down its back and a small red cross above it. Around his neck is a surfer necklace with a green jewel in the center, and each side of the jewel are two rings with small gems in them. One gem is a lavender color, while the others are a jade green emerald, a sky blue sapphire, and a violet purple diamond. All of the girls and more than a few of the women of the group blush after they see Naruto in his swim trunks. Anko Wolf whistles at the scene. Damn, the gaki is ripped. Look at those muscles, I bet you could grate cheese on them. She yells while licking her lips and rubbing her thighs together. Hinata nearly passes out at seeing Naruto's chest, and Ino is openly drooling. Chris sees Naruto walk up and chuckles. No problem Naruto. He then clears his throat, getting everyone's attention. Now today's final challenge is a simple 1000 feet dive into man-eating shark-infested waters, he says casually like he is talking about the weather, while smiling at some of the faces the campers have. Now you will take turns diving off the cliff and try to land in a small safe zone at the bottom, he says still smiling, and yes, this is safe, we had our interns test it, and it passed. Chris says. Naruto could have sworn he heard Chef's voice from back in the mess hall, yelling something about damn host shoving me into shark-infested waters, but paid it no mind. Kuro chuckles, getting the group's attention in case you are wondering. Yes, Chris tested the safety of the challenge by shoving Chef into the shark-infested water, he informs, getting sweat drops from the group. Naruto turns to Gwen and smiles. I like your swimsuit, Gwen, it looks really good on you, he says, causing her to blush slightly. Thank you Naruto, I like yours too, the goth girl says, blushing a little more as he smiles again and thinks, why am I acting like this around him? I have only known him for a day, and yet I feel so close to him, it's like being near him makes me feel safe and warm, I can't be falling for him already, can I? Ashina smiles seeing this and silently hopes that Naruto and Gwen get together. After all, she wants to see some grandbabies. For each member of your team that jumps and survives, there will be a crate of supplies waiting below, Chris says, getting nods. Inside each crate are supplies that you will need for the second part of the challenge. Chris throws his arms in the air, building a hot tub. The team with the best one gets to have a wicked hot tub party tonight. The losers will have no hot tub. It's a reward challenge, which means no one will be going home tonight, Chris finishes, getting nods from the campers. Alright, who wants to go first? Chris asks as Brigitte and Naruto step up. Mind if I go first? Naruto asks as he looks at Brigitte with a smile. Not at all, go right ahead Naruto, the surfer girl says. Naruto smiles and begins jogging towards the edge before breaking into a full sprint and jumping high into the air as he reaches the edge of the cliff. Naruto does a few flips and spins before free-falling towards the water, causing everyone to rush to the edge to see if he made it, just making it in time to see Naruto land safely in the safe zone before resurfacing. The group claps at seeing Naruto's dive into the lake before looking to Kuro, who is holding up a giant card with a 9.75 on it, causing them to laugh before turning their attention back to the scene. Naruto turns to see 3 sharks with their heads above the water looking at him from just outside the safe zone and smiles. Hey guys, you mind giving me a ride to shore? I will give you guys some meat if you do, he asks, causing those on top of the cliff to just stare dumbfounded by his actions. The sharks look to each other before nodding and Naruto smiles before swimming out of the safe zone. Thanks guys, he says before holding onto 2 of the shark's dorsal fins as they pull him towards shore. When Naruto reaches shore, he lets go of the shark's fins and smiles before scratching them under their chins, causing them to purr much to everyone's shock. Thanks guys, I will come back a little later with the meat, he says before looking back up to the top of the cliff. Come on guys, it's easy, he says, snapping everyone out of their shocked states. The group just stands there in shock at what they saw. Did Naruto just tame those sharks, and did those sharks just purr? Kiba asks in shock. Shikamaru sighs before rubbing the bridge of his nose. Troublesome blonde, he says while off to the side Lee and Guy yell youth and go to hug but are stopped by Kuro, who snaps his fingers, freezing them in place. Whiskers sure is fun, Izzy says, causing everyone to look at her. I can't believe the sharks just gave him a ride to shore, and did they just purr when he scratched their chins? Is that even possible? Courtney says, curious if sharks can actually purr. I didn't think sharks were able to purr, but after seeing that I guess it's possible, Noah says, impressed by what Naruto did. Well, I'm going next, Brigitte says before she dives off the cliff and lands in the safe zone before swimming over to Naruto. Nice job Brigitte, your form was really impressive, Naruto compliments as Brigitte reaches shore. Thank you Naruto, your form was also really impressive, the surfer girl says while blushing slightly. Alright, who's next? Chris asks, turning the rest of the campers. Tyler runs and jumps off the cliff only to crash into the buoys, causing everyone to wince as he slides into the safe zone. One by one Duncan, Cody, and Eva jumped and made it into the safe zone. DJ stares at the lake with fear written on his face and chickens out and is forced to wear a chicken hat and rides down an escalator that Chris had conveniently forgot to mention until then. Courtney also chickens out, claiming she has a medical condition that prevents her from jumping off cliffs, hoping Chris will buy it, but he doesn't, and she receives a chicken hat before riding the escalator down. Tsunade scoffs at Courtney's attempt to chicken out using a made-up medical condition. I can't believe she tried to fake a medical condition, she says in disgust, while looking at her apprentice Shizune, who is the most recent recipient of Bliss Mode Naruto, much to said apprentice's embarrassment. One by one the campers jump, most making it in the safe zone. Justin lands outside the safe zone, but his handsomeness saves him as the sharks just give him a ride to shore. Harold ends up landing on his nuts, letting out a high-pitched scream, causing the males and even the sharks to wince. The males of the group wince upon seeing Harold's landing and cover their one nuts in sympathy, causing the girls to roll their eyes. Jeff lands outside the safe zone but manages to swim to safety. Beth ended up chickening out and taking the escalator down. Finally only Owen was left at the top of the cliff. Chris turns to Owen, now will you jump or chicken out? Maybe your jump will bring your team the win, no pressure man. The large boy gulped before he put on his water floaters. The screaming Gophers team cheers him on as he gets closer to the edge. He takes a deep breath before closing his eyes. Confession. Owen gulped and looks the corner, I'm not a very good swimmer. Static. Jeff smirked at the camera, I looked at this guy and could tell there was no way he was going to make it. Static. Naruto smiles, if there is one thing I have learned in my life, it's that appearances can be deceiving, and Owen proved that once again. Back to cliff. Owen took a few steps back before running and jumping over the cliff. I'm going to die, now I'm going to fucking die now, and screams on the way down and lands in the safe zone, causing a massive pillar of water to rise in the air. The group looks on in amazement by the massive pillar of water Owen's jump caused before they break out in cheers at how awesome it was. As the water returns to the lake, Naruto looks to the sharks in his arms. Fin, Fang, Jaws, are you guys alright? He asks the sharks only for them to shiver in fear at almost dying. The group sweat drops when they hear the names Naruto gave the 3 sharks. I mean, of all the names he could have given them, those were just horrible. After Owen makes it to shore, Chris arrives. Well, that was exciting, now take your crates and head back to the flagpole to begin construction on your hot tubs, he says before riding off on his ATV, and the campers pick up their boxes and race back to the camp. Naruto sees Gwen struggling with her 2 boxes. Hey Gwen, want me to take one of those for you? He asks with a smile that causes her to blush slightly. Gwen looks at Naruto, but Naruto, you are already 3 boxes, how will you carry another, she asks him. Naruto smiles and sets his boxes down before taking one of Gwen's boxes and balancing on his left shoulder before picking up his boxes and placing on his other shoulder while the other are under his arms. Now let's hurry back and get this hot tub built so we can relax, Naruto says as Gwen stands there amazed by his strength and blushing a little at how his muscles flex and compact as he carries the boxes. Once again many of the girls blush seeing this, and Anko Wolf whistles again before Kurenai smacks her upside the back of her head again. Gwen isn't the only one to notice Naruto as Izzy, Lindsay, and Brigitte also notices, and each blush at seeing him do this while running through some not-so-PG scenarios in their heads and silently growling at how lucky Gwen is for being so close to Naruto at the time. On the way back to the camp, Katie and Sadie end up squatting over some poison ivy when they have to pee and end up running to the water to soak their behinds, and Courtney ends up getting stung near her eye by a bug, causing it to swell up. The majority of the group either sweat drops or break out in laughter after hearing what happened to Cody and Sadie. The campers reach the campground and begin construction of their hot tubs, and once they're done Chris rolls up on his ATV. Okay, time's up, let's see how you did, Chris says looking at the 2 hot tubs. The killer base's hot tub looks like it's about to fall apart, while the Screaming Gophers tub looks perfect. Okay, Screaming Gophers win, which means they get the tub, Chris says, causing the Gophers to cheer. Naruto looks to the base and sees them sulking a little. Hey Chris, is it alright if we share the tub with the other team, he asks, causing the base to look up at him. I don't see why not, Chris says after thinking for a minute, causing the base to cheer before everyone gets in the tub. Naruto is relaxing in the tub when he feels someone bump into him and looks over to see Gwen in her strapless bikini top and black spats. He thought they definitely suited her in his opinion, as they worked to accent her mid-C cup breasts and nice-sized rear. Gwen spotted Naruto make her smile brightly. You look lovely, Gwen, he compliments, make her blush a little as she tries to hide it. Thank you Naruto, you were a lot of help today, and I really enjoyed talking with you, the goth girl says fighting her blush. I enjoy talking with you too, Gwen, he says before someone splashes bumping her into Naruto's chest as he catches her. You okay, Gwen, he asks as they look into each other's eyes before their faces get closer as she stares into his dazzling blue eyes until they kiss passionately, not caring if anyone saw them. The kiss scene causes many of the males to wolf whistle, while the females either gush or squeal at the scene. Kushina seeing the kiss lets out a loud squeal and hugs Minato. Oh Minato-kun, just picture the grandbabies. She yells in excitement. Minato hearing this sweat drops and thinks Kushina might be jumping the gun a little. After all, it is only a kiss. Gwen realizes what she's doing after about a minute and bolts out of the hot tub and Naruto runs after her. As she runs, all Gwen can think is how could I do that, I've only known him a day, no, he probably thinks I'm some slut or something, until she hears a voice. Gwen, wait, Naruto says as he reaches out and grabs her hand, turning her to face him. Why are you running? He asks worried. I kissed you, we have only known each other for a day, and yet I kissed you, you must think I'm a slut or something for forcing myself on you like that. She manages to get out between sobs, unable to look him in the eye. When he says as he tilts her head up to look her in the eye, before wiping the tears off her cheeks, if I wasn't okay with the thought of kissing you, I would have pushed you off me, not returned the kiss, he said before kissing her on the lips, causing her eyes to widen, before she kisses him back. When they part, Gwen looks at Naruto and smiles. So what does this make us? I don't want it to be some fling or something. She asks nervously, a little afraid that it might just be a fling. Naruto smiles as he cups her cheek. When I'm not one to play with girls or lead them on, if I make any sort of romantic moves to them I'm serious and want to be with them, he says, causing her to smile. However, there is soothing we will have to discuss a little later, but starting now you're my girlfriend, and if you will have me I'm your boyfriend, and I would have it any other way, he says, holding her in his embrace. The group smiles at the scene, happy for the version of Naruto they are watching. The women of the group are especially happy with Naruto, as he showed he isn't someone to play around with girls' feelings. Gwen smiles as she cries a few tears of joy and kisses Naruto. Of course I would love to have you as my boyfriend, Naruto, and whatever it is we have to discuss later we'll get through it together, as they just stand there embracing each other and kissing passionately. Cut to the dock of shame at night. Well, what an eventful first day. We meet the campers, some make awesome entrances and give gifts. Our first camper gets eliminated due to his sexist comments. Naruto makes friends with sharks, the first relationship of the season forms, and more. Chris says, staring at the camera. What will happen next? Who will get voted off? Will Naruto make more animal friends? Will any more ladies fall for the blonde shinobi? Find out on the next episode of Total Drama Island, Chris says before turning away from the camera and pulling out a certain book Naruto gave him and giggling perversely as he reads it. The scene fades, and the room returns to the white void, signaling the end of the scene. Kuro looks at the group and smiles. Well, that is the end of the scene. We will now take a short break so you can all get something to eat and drink or use the bathroom if need be, he says as the group does just that. All except for Kurama, who is the newest recipient of Bliss Mode Naruto. End chapter 4. What if Naruto has juubi and Total Drama end here, and thanks for watching my video till the end.